Cap off your long weekend. Ralston Days, Labor Day weekend in the parking lot of Liberty First Credit Union Arena in association with NRG Media and 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7.
What start to Wednesday? Some showers and thunder showers could linger through the mid-morning. Otherwise, expect mostly cloudy skies. Expect some clearing in the afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the low to mid-80s. Then a chance for strong to severe storms after 6 p.m. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Heavy rain overnight and into this morning from the storm. Slower speeds definitely advised this morning as there will be standing water in some areas. We have a semi slid off of the 84th Street exit ramp on I-80 East. Eastbound 108th and Harrison, a stall in one of the traffic lanes, and a large tree obstructing the road at the intersection of Happy Hollow and Underwood. Please be safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
The electrical market requires your company to adjust to an ever-changing field. IBEW Local 22 gives you flexibility with access to journeymen, apprentices, and proven training programs. Call Bob at IBEW Local 22 for details at 402-980-7596.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Post Coffee stands as the vibrant heart of every break room, offering the unique fusion of traditional quality and modern flair. We're not just your coffee provider, we're the center of memorable workplace moments. Call Host Coffee today.
Proudly serving Nebraska since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
As the end of summer draws near, the vacation season is just starting for customers at Greenberg's Jewelers. For a very limited time, when you make a purchase of $3,000 or more at Greenberg's, you'll get a $500 airline gift card to one of over 100 destinations in the U.S. and Mexico. Spend $7,500 or more and receive a $1,000 airline gift card. If you're thinking about an engagement ring in the next few months, it's time to buy the ring now. Considering a gorgeous diamond pendant or anniversary ring? Get it now from Greenberg's and get free airfare. Imagine the look on her face when a Hearts on Fire engagement ring or love story pendant is topped off with a honeymoon or vacation to Cancun, New York, Las Vegas, or one of many other destinations. A $500 airline gift card with any purchase of $3,000 or more, or a $1,000 airline gift card with a purchase of $7,500 or more. But hurry, a deal like this won't last. Greenberg's Jewelers, a cut above the rest. Westroads Mall.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy will undergo surgery this week after tests revealed he suffered a torn meniscus in his right knee during the team's preseason opener against the Raiders. Head coach Kevin O'Connell confirming that the team does not have a timeline for McCarthy's recovery, which could be anywhere from a few weeks to several months. O'Connell added it will be something determined during the procedure based upon whether it can just be a cleanup or potentially a repair. Meantime, Patriots head coach Jerron Mayo calling their joint practices with the Eagles this week a good measuring stick and confirmed rookie quarterback Drake May will get more reps to build his confidence and operate the offense. Giants head coach Brian Daboll saying that rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors is good and his ankle injury is not long-term after having an MRI and X-ray done. Neighbors saying the thought of the injury was much worse than it ended up being and confirmed he'll be ready for week 1. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
When you were young, all you wanted in the summer was an ice cream truck to roll by. Now, you just can't wait for the Harbor Freight parking lot sale to roll around. And it'll be here this weekend. Maybe you're looking to fill up that tool chest. Maybe you're looking for a tool chest to fill up. You'll save money either way. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until August 18th, 2024. While supplies last. Limitations apply.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hello, I'm Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. If you've ever wanted to have your cake and eat it too, there's good news. You can have that every day at Equitable Bank. You get state-of-the-art mobile banking as well as online banking. And if you ever forget your password, don't worry. You can give us a call at 402-827-8100 and we'll answer it on the first ring to help. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Serve Nebraska is inviting you to help thank volunteers for their service to our communities. The Step Forward Awards are Nebraska's highest awards for volunteer service, and you can show your appreciation for their hard work by attending the awards luncheon coming up on October 4th in Omaha. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. Made possible by sponsors like Omaha Public Power District. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
1620 The Zone.
0-1 hit high in the air. Deep left field. Please get out of here. It does. Kyle Farmer's first of the year into the Treasure Island home run deck, and it's 13-3.
Swung in and ripped to deep left. Away back. Way out of here. A prodigious blast. Beyond the porch and left. And the Guardians have a 2-1 lead here in the sixth.
And Bregman lofts this one in the left pretty deep. It sends back Carlson at the wall looking up. See you later! Alex Bregman homers for a fourth straight game. And the Astros lead 2-1. And Pena hits it well out to left center field. Going back on it. Carlson still going back. Looking up. See you later! Jeremy Pena exits left center, and the Astros lead is 3-1.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
So I just want to start off by saying thank you for ending my baseball season. Back-to-back one-run games that Cleveland has defeated Chicago with a guy named Big Christmas.
Christmas in August now.
But the highlight that is getting the most attention nationally is a little controversial one. Let's see if we can find the one of a Drew Smyly home run that you will hear the Guardians announcer. I'm not sure doing what. I'm not exactly sure what the home run call was. And Smyly did, huh? You gotta hear the call from last night. But welcome in, everybody.
I thought you were going to say Machine Gun Kelly's first pitch.
No. Okay. I sometimes wonder if Machine Gun Kelly is a thing. And then he shows up at a random August baseball game to throw out a first pitch, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
why?
Same thing. It was, I honestly didn't know he was even a Cleveland native. Honest with you.
As they tell you, Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland does rock, and Machine Gun Kelly decided to go a different route with his pitch, and he's still offend people when I say the way he threw it.
Whoa, I just heard this call. Good Lord. I've called a lot of games. I've never said anything like that.
You might have to explain yourself there, Guardian fan. This is probably going to go, if it's not already viral, this is a strange home run call from the Cleveland-Chicago game last night.
get the longer one here.
Yeah.
Hello.
Man, you guys say I'm a curmudgeon. I never say anything like that.
Yeah.
Explain yourself over there. I know Smiley actually been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good pitcher.
I think he never necessarily wanted to off himself.
I think he's probably going to wake up this morning in Cleveland. But the announcer
have a good breakfast at the hotel.
The Guardians like you should kill yourself for giving up a home run.
Yeah,
this isn't like Argentina and Brazil, and you have an own goal in the World Cup.
Trade deadline's done too, so it's probably not
those wasn't game 162 with like a half game lead or anything like that either.
Deep to left.
I mean, I think there's probably better choices of words.
Yeah,
a little disappointed, but not that you're going to off yourself.
Right. I don't ever encourage that.
Drew Smiley's going to be sad for about a pitch.
Jesus, you know what would have been ironic is this would have been their Castellanos moment. The first commercial into the break is about the suicide hotline.
Let's talk.
Yeah, I'm usually I'm actually a big fan of the TV broadcast. I tend to listen to more Hammy if I can, because with the MLB reason. TV app, you can still get the radio call, which is always kind of nice. But yeah, like I definitely, you'll get the TV guys. I think Matt Underwood is pretty good. That was Rick Manning, by the way.
Should have been Danny Manning. Good
but yeah, with the boy wants to kill himself. Like, well, I think he's upset that he hung a pitch. That's about it. I don't know if I would go with
darn.
We're going to get one of those apologies probably today.
I'm sure.
I don't think he'll get Glenn Kuipert or anything like that.
No, you're right about Castellanos. Then there would have been a Castellanos in the like an hour later.
He did hear something in the bat signal, I'm sure.
What something on God, what was it on Saturday or Sunday? Jesus, maybe it's just we're at that point where just so many damn things have been happening where I was expecting a Castellanos home run because something in the world took place. And I'm trying to remember what it was.
On Saturday?
Saturday or Sunday?
U.S. beat France in basketball.
Yeah, there was that.
There you go.
This had to be a Sunday.
Curry hit a 3 and then he hit a home run.
Yeah, there was something Sunday. I'm like, oh, this feels like, and maybe it was just in sports in general. I don't know. But it was like, oh, this feels like a Castellanos home run moment. Something controversial.
Well,
I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember right now.
I think that would be memorable if you're like, oh, this is. I might have to go to FanDuel and see if we can get a Castellanos home run.
I mean, isn't that where we kind of are now? Anytime something happens, whether it's within sports that's bad or controversial,
I'm not sure what would have happened this
I know.
weekend.
I'm trying to
I don't remember.
Yeah,
it's pretty gloomy. It wasn't hot.
I just remember
you played golf.
I remember thinking to myself, God, I think Castellanos is. This could be a Castellanos day.
Hey, the rain's over.
Maybe I was just having a bad day. I just thought Castellanos would.
Well, speaking of the rain, so good morning to everybody. Welcome in a Hump Day edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy. It is, if you've been up with us since 3 a.m., hello. Storms rolled through here. I got to have some speaks with Mother Nature. I've had some talks with the good man upstairs. Like I've gone outside and looked at a beautiful sky and said, we need to talk recently. So I gotta adjust and go to the next phase and talk to Mother Nature, because that's twice in a couple of days that storms have rolled through here before my alarm's gone off.
Yeah,
we don't need that. I mean, I know that rain makes corn, and some places need rain, but
rain is a good thing.
You know what? I would prefer rain like between 7 and 11 in the morning.
Or your rain show, your rain station.
But I don't need 3 a.m. a thunderstorm rolling through that I wake up, and then there was no chance I was going back to sleep. So there's some very interesting things that are on TV at 3 a.m. They're not news related. They just throw all kinds of stuff on TV at 3 a.m. It used to be infomercials.
Yeah, the infomercials.
And then even networks, like I remember when I was a kid, like networks would sign off. Like they'd go black for like a couple of hours. Now they just random things are on at 3 in the morning.
No more CDs of the best hits of the 70s and 80s. Those were great.
Yeah, I mean, I got in trouble that way. I would end up ordering again. I think I've told you guys the Monster Ballads. All of a sudden, Monster Ballad shows up because I got the 2-disc set because it was on at 2:30 a.m. I'm like, damn, that's a collection right there. I got to have that as I was eating a frozen pizza.
I was waiting for Friday Night Videos to come on. I was like, this is great.
See, there.
But by the way, MTV does show, because I was flipping through the channels.
Right.
MTV does show music videos late at night. It's not
really
all reality shows. Well, I'm pretty sure it was MTV.
I
they
believe
they were doing music videos.
All right.
Like current day music videos.
From 3 to 4. That's awesome.
what was the? I think it's CMT. This would have been when Reese was still, waking up at all hours of the night.
Pure Country.
No,
Can't go wrong.
CMT actually had some really good flicks on. Like I think there was and this was like a Tuesday or Wednesday random midweek, and Roadhouse was on CMT. So I think if you go to CMT and you want to just see maybe an action film that you haven't watched in a while, if I remember correctly, CMT was the way to go. They would actually show some movies that you could get into.
So I like country music. Not afraid to admit that. I like me some Shabuzi. I like me some Jelly Roll. I like me some Luke Bryan.
90s country videos on right now on CMT.
Well, so they have
Always good.
They have their countdown show on Saturday and Sunday mornings, and then they will have usually a movie at 11 a.m.
Mhm.
And I think this week was Top Gun.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of Adam Sandler that they show.
Yeah.
Golden Girls reruns are new now on there too.
Golden Girls is on CMT.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Interesting.
not a bad pickup.
Yeah.
It's, I'd
Sit
watch-
out on the lanai,
I'd watch her have me a Golden Girl.
Yeah, excuse me?
eat some cheesecake.
Sometimes when you're younger, you're attracted to older women.
Hey, I've seen The Graduate. I smell what you're cooking.
You never
I
got
say
the
if you-
you never got the discussion when you were a kid that you were attracted to your mom?
That once you go gray, there's no other way?
No, I mean,
No. Wait, what? Huh?
you can't tell me that there was some point in your life you went Blanche.
No.
Are you sure?
She got around.
I'm pretty sure.
You haven't lived in Florida.
Good
Well,
call, though.
Yeah. Older Golden Girls in Florida look much different, and they probably have a lot more money than
Well,
you do.
that's now.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
And they want to spoil
Okay.
you.
No, I don't. If you want to go with that, that's fine. But
Yeah, I didn't have like a Betty White fetish.
Or B. Arthur.
Yeah.
especially as of late.
Probably not B. Arthur.
After Airheads.
Because I had a teacher that looked like B. Arthur.
I think we all
That would
did.
have been very uncomfortable.
Wait, so are we going back to the days of the nuns? Did you have a nun that looked like B. Arthur?
No, she was just a regular citizen teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So she wasn't the one that the young kids were pining
No.
over?
For the record, I was never attracted to a nun.
That's good.
Glad we cleared that up.
I'm happy to know that.
Well, if anybody wondered, I mean, first of all, I think that would be not good. And
frowned upon, yes.
And you know what? What would I do with a nun?
Pray.
Okay. It's just like
they couldn't do anything.
Well, but maybe you could be the one that could.
No, I'm not looking to.
Oh.
You don't want to. It's not even converting. I guess it's.
Hey.
Oh my goodness.
It's taking them off the path.
Hey, homie over here, don't play that game. I'm not in converting people. You can be on your team, and I'm on my team.
Yeah,
Okay?
but wasn't that always the? The goal?
I'm not looking for a player to be named later.
Okay. I always say, well, yeah, because we always talked about adding to our roster when it came to dating, and it was always considered to be cool. I mean, Elaine attempted to do that in Seinfeld, of turning a gay man to straight
With her dancing.
I've seen it work exactly the opposite, where you were dating someone that was on one team, and then all of a sudden they turned out to go on the other team, and then you felt bad about yourself because you wondered, were you the reason behind that? But I would think it'd be pretty darn cool if you were able to be such a force that her dedication to the Lord would all of a sudden waver because she her commitment to you was much more appealing to the Lord.
I went from Roadhouse
Gary.
at 3 a.m. to this.
To the Lord.
Not a chance.
Oh.
To
Because
answer your
I'm
question,
afraid-
Gary, yes.
I'm afraid of getting hit by lightning.
There is a lot of that out
Yeah.
today too. So I'm just testing you.
Yeah, and here's the other
I'm
thing.
just seeing.
Like
You're
good
random that way.
Like good-looking nuns are only in the movies.
Right.
I went to
Like
Catholic
Sister
school
Act.
for 8 years. Okay.
Wait, Sister Act? Whoopi?
There was
Oh,
one.
okay.
There was the one that sang the young one. She was all right.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll give you that. I immediately
Not
think
the
of
one
Sister-
that looked like Bill Raftery.
Well, I think of whoop.
She did.
I just
B.R.
poll question: do most nuns look like Bill Raftery?
Okay.
Or B. Arthur.
Or B. Arthur?
All right. I apologize to the Archdiocese of Omaha.
Yeah.
Hope I'm still wanted.
Yep.
I would love to be an lector, but they're like, well, have you ever had the first thing I asked when I went to this church when I moved to Omaha? Because I was a lector down in Fort Myers at this church I went to all the time. And I said, hey, I would like to be involved. I'd like to be a lector. And the lady goes, well, do you have any public speaking? And I go, I'm in radio. And she goes, well, okay.
She's like, do you want to do a bit or something?
She's probably afraid that like I would improv.
Like you're gonna
stand up.
You're
Carler Lang gets a free Bible.
So actually, I suppose you want to read and do your act.
Actually, some of the Catholic churches I've been to, it'd be great if somebody did stand up during the service. Other places I've gone to, man, you got like a full-on band. It's great. People are dancing, and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I?
I was raised in a Pentecostal church.
And then a stand-up act could have been perfect for that.
You probably do this too. I'm sure we
Probably
all
not.
do because of
I don't strive to be you.
You're a natural observer. You observe things by nature, especially when it comes to things that you feel like you could also pull off. When it comes to being up at the lectern, I think I'm evaluating their overall comfortability. Some that you can tell, like there are people that at our parish, there's guys that, they dress the nines.
Yeah.
Because they know it's their day. It's their day to shine. There are other people that I don't know if maybe in the 11th hour someone bailed and then they got roped into it. And so
dressed like Belichick.
Not even the way they're dressing, but you can tell that they're not delivering the reading with confidence. So they didn't have the previous night to go over, anticipate, and read it. So I usually, again, maybe you do this, maybe you don't. I usually try to think about what their last 12 hours was like. Were they already prepared for this? Did they know, or were they roped it? Like when they showed up, maybe the priest is very understanding of them, knows them, like, hey, Gary, so-and-so's sick this morning, or so-and-so got the vid. We need you to step in. Could you do that? Could you read Corinthians something or this or that? And you're like, you're not going to say no, right?
I was like,
especially if the priest is asking, you're not going to say no.
No. I would like to be I'd like to be like that softball person we talk about that shows up that is a hanger-on.
Oh, substitute guy.
Yeah, if you need one.
Yeah, sub guy.
I could be that. Any church in town, any service that needs somebody to be like do the readings.
You get there at 8 a.m. mass and you're there till like 11.
Yeah. I just hang around. I hang in the parking lot.
Like how some stadiums have their own national anthem performer.
Need one?
Does Father give me the text?
You just sitting there in the corner, just kind of look at your phone, looking through every possible reading that you could anticipate that day.
Yeah, we got Sharpie going today.
You get the program that day. You're looking at what the readings are, and so you're pulling that out. You're like, hey, if you need,
always
I'm
be
good.
ready.
And then all of a sudden, you see a panic look on the priest or anybody involved in the church decision making,
and he goes there from the back,
and you're like, you guys need one? I'm good.
Warm-ups,
like,
come on.
Come on in. Then you stick around for the next one.
What this conversation has shown us is that football can't get here soon enough.
Indeed.
17 days away.
It's grind for the players. It's grind for us.
And you woke up early.
I've been up since 3. The storm. I woke up, and actually the first thing I thought of is the weather person that I followed yesterday said 2 a.m. And so they were an hour late.
Oh.
But I was like, oh, okay, they kind of pegged when the storms are going to roll through here. But we got a lot of rain.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody adjust accordingly. Some people are going back to school. I think some OPS students are going back to school this morning. So good luck to y'all.
Yep.
Man, there was a day.
Our friend Josh the Pirate says, not true, Gary. There was a Franciscan nun in Steubenville. There was a smoke show.
I used to live near Steubenville.
Steubenville just sounds
Ohio.
like really?
Yeah.
That just sounds like a cool place to live. I don't even know why. Steubenville.
So that's it's just outside of Wheeling.
Okay.
Where I lived for a year doing pro hockey.
Yeah.
It's like Wheeling, it's a very much an industrial town.
Okay.
We've talked about Steubenville before. They love their high school football. They have this great high school football stadium. They're actually called, I think they're the Steubenville Big Red.
Oh. Okay.
But when I left there, shortly after I left, they became national news with their football program.
Not in a good way, I'm assuming.
Yes.
No.
You told me about this a while back.
No, but they love that area. They love their high school football. Like
Okay.
Friday nights are huge up there. So good. We've had a traction to B. Arthur.
Betty White. Don't forget.
Betty White. Steubenville reference.
Comparing
this could be a great day.
Comparing softball
You got
sub
Blanche
guy
in?
to lectern reading sub guy. By the way, if
God,
you guys
we need
want
Dion to do something.
Oh, he
quickly.
will. Give him a moment. Does he talk to the press today, or at least scheduled to? We can play the game today too. You know how it's supposed to get There could be some storms later this afternoon, kind of similar to what it was a couple of weeks ago. Apparently wind is involved. So the fence that we had come down, it's back up, but temporarily.
Yeah.
It's got basically, I would say, street sign posts that are kind of propping it up.
Okay.
Should I just keep the camera on? If wind comes through, we can actually see will it go down or will it not?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you can tweet it.
It's not very sturdy. Play that game if you guys want to. That's what I'm looking forward to tonight when I heard there was going to be wind.
Bennington usually has a bullseye, so
we
keep
do.
an eye.
And our fence is not being fixed till late September, early October. So
what will Nebraska's record be by then?
You need a fence guy.
Well, we got a fence guy, but they're a little backed up. Fence guy who actually listens to the show.
That seems like a long time. What is fence guy doing? He's on vacation?
No, fence guy's
not till October.
Fence guy's got a lot in the queue after what happened a couple weeks back.
Fence guy he might be making a lot of money. Why don't you hire some people?
I'm sure fence guy has hired some money.
I would think
some people.
I would think fence guy could make a lot more money if he was more efficient and was not holding off a customer until October.
Shout out fence guy.
Why don't he expand his business, make a little bit of money? Then he can retire early. Instead of an October fence appointment, maybe moves you up to the middle of September.
You know what fence guy does?
More reasonable.
Fence guy manages expectations. He told me right away before I signed contract that this is when it would be ready. Are you cool with that? So
is this fence guy a guy that's just a fence guy on the side? Does he have like some other job? So he's just doing this on the side?
No, fence guy was there when
it's like, hey man, you know what? If you really wait long enough, you know what? The winter will come and you'll never notice it. And then we'll be back in the spring. I'll be there in the spring.
I can
have my tools by the spring.
Case of beer and some pizza. I can get you taken care of.
I can get you a snow fence like that, but fence guy. He managed expectations. We were fine. The only reason we need to have that fence
guy
is
solo or fence guy have a crew?
I believe fence guy is a small operation,
so it's himself.
Yeah, I think
so. Okay, so maybe he does it on the side.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. He was there right away. As soon as I was off the air.
By day he's dealing cards at Warhorse Casino, and by night he's fixing fences in Bennington. That's a good gig. That's a good gig right there.
Do you know how
Warhorse?
Do you know the? Well, yeah. Wait, are you talking about doing cards at the Warhorse?
Yeah, Warhorse Casino is open. Yeah. You guys go in there and you'll be the youngest people in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I've been there twice.
Like Bonefish.
Man, the bus tours are popular at Warhorse Casino.
I've seen a lot more buses, by the way, too, making their way that way. So, yeah, I'm not shocked by that. Those are the same ones that are going to go on the cruise later. There's going to be a cruise in December that they will all be a part of, I'm sure.
By the way, nice. They're not anywhere near finished, but nice place.
I haven't been yet. When's the sports book in?
It's there.
It is there. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's all open. Everything's good there. All right. It's probably about time to check it out then.
So if something really big happens, you drive over there, get Castellanos on something, and
or maybe you get lucky and the online betting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or mobile gaming will happen in the state of Nebraska.
It reached the floor.
All right, coming up, appropriate for the first 30 minutes of the show, we're going to drink some alcohol a little bit later. The guys from Whiskey Fest will be in at 8.
We ain't drinking seltzers today.
So we will tell you more about the Whiskey Fest, and we will drink and drink and drink. Also, Bobby Darin, no relation to former Creighton basketball star Brody Darin. Bobby Darin, who covers Rutgers, will join us coming up at 9 in our Friend or Foe segment. And a friend, Brandon Vogel, will stop by. That's the lineup brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. We are 17 days away. This is the grind of the week. It's also the day that the Big Ten Network is in Lincoln to throw praise on Dylan Raiola and ask him, if you are voted in as a single digit, will you choose number 7? And will people lose their mind about, oh my gosh, you must have grown up loving Eric Crouch and Scott Frost.
Yeah.
And he'll say, no, that's what Matthew Stafford was going to let me wear at Georgia.
That's right.
So the Big Ten Network is in town. Yesterday, defensive guys spoke, and they spoke highly about a couple of individuals that we will touch on as we roll till 10. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Often rolling on a Wednesday morning, on a hump day. Also, sticking with the theme of the first segment that you two created that I had to play along with, and now I'm going to have to go to confession. Magic Johnson turned 65 today.
I should say most of it was Knicks. I understood what you were saying with older women. I did not think nuns, but happy birthday to the great Magic.
Oh, for a second, I thought I was trying to associate Magic Johnson to being a speaker in
church
mass. So you lost me on that one.
So Magic Johnson, if you would have told me back when he announced his HIV, that he would live to 65, I would not have believed you.
Yep.
The HIV back then was a death sentence. Yep. And Magic Johnson now celebrates his 65th birthday as one of the greats to ever play the game and has done a ton of stuff away from basketball. And we also must acknowledge one thing about Magic Johnson that maybe stands out above the banners and the 32 and his legacy on the court is he has turned into one of the greatest tweeters of all time. I mean, if you want engagement and if you want someone to make you think, Magic Johnson is the guy.
I figured that's.
I don't think people realize. I think people realize his impact on the floor and what he has done as a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I don't think people fully grasp how great Twitter has been for Magic Johnson. Young people that never got a chance to watch him in the purple and gold have gotten a chance to follow him on Twitter, and they're blown away by his tweets that go deep, that make you think, that add to some engagement, that maybe sometimes are obvious, or what are we doing here, Magic? But, I mean, he's a good tweeter. He played his, he looked great in winning time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, happy birthday, Magic Johnson, 65 today.
So bring back winning time.
Him and Cookie probably will be celebrating.
Do you want a gold medal game Magic Johnson tweet for his birthday?
Sure.
Okay. Big shout out to U.S. men's basketball team for beating France in a very close game to secure gold. Steph Curry came in clutch again with 8 threes. Fire emoji and the oh my God emoji. This was, he did a lot of Olympic tweeting. Team USA came ready to compete today. Masai Russell is the new 100 hurdles Olympic champion, and both our men and women's 4x400 relays brought home the gold. Newsworthy.
You can keep your gold zone there.
That's a good, solid tweet. It's about information.
There's a lot of information.
It has a different feel when Magic tweets something like that compared to, average Joe that's got a Husker Twitter account.
Mm-hmm. There's
probably a little difference in followers.
There's no snark involved with Irvin Magic
podcast.
Johnson. Congratulations to the U.S. women's soccer team on beating Brazil to win the gold this morning with 2 exclamation points and a gold emoji.
I did watch that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I watch soccer. Yeah.
Well, and you got Magic commenting on that. He does mention Cookie in an August 9th tweet, by the way. Cookie and I went crazy when Rai Benjamin won the 400-meter hurdles. Congratulations to him on earning his first gold medal in the event. Party emoji and gold emoji.
You know what? I should create a public Twitter and just do this during Husker season.
Just the Captain Obvious?
Yeah.
It's be like, that run netted Nebraska 7 yards.
Nebraska has
now
outscored
second down
Colorado
and 3
for the game.
No, you wouldn't do like play-by-play. You have to do...
No, but you just do random
You
ones
sum it up.
like that.
Yeah, you have to. No, but you have to be in the Magic Johnson role. Like that, you can't... Because people won't get that.
You could say first quarter for Nebraska was a success as they scored 2 touchdowns.
Rule looks like he has his team prepared. A victory.
Congratulations to the Nebraska football team on going 1-0 by beating UTEP 34-10.
They scored more points than the Miners. That's it. I'm running the Zone Twitter account.
I've noticed, though, he has. So a while back when this became a little bit more of a thing, he used to do a segment of What's Magic Saying? And so we did have a lot of tweets that we would just read Magic. I've noticed, because it's been a while since I've really scoured through it. He's really into the emojis now. There's a lot of emojis that he uses. There's a lot of hand claps.
Well, it's like, when your parents text you now, the worst thing that ever happened to my dad is technology and him discovering technology and like spending time trying to solve technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is all new to him. So he's all fired up.
Yeah.
The emoji game. Like And it's okay because I don't want to. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking to my dad because, like, one thing could lead to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I would be unfair to my father, and I would, block him out for 44 minutes. Dad has a tendency to talk, i.e., myself. So he gets me. So he's just Mr. Emoji guy, and I'm fine with that.
Didn't Walt make his way into town not that long ago too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Walt, because his good friend Terry Ryan went into the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame over the weekend.
Nice. My mom went from, I don't know if Walt did this, but my mom would, when she first started really texting to all four of her sons, she would always, at the end of each text, say, "Love, Mom."
Yeah.
And we would always inform her, well, two things go without saying, Mom. We know you love us, and we know it's you. We got your number saved. So now, instead of that, to your point about emojis, now she's a big heart emoji,
okay,
or the heart kissy face emoji to express her love for her sons instead of saying "Love, Mom."
Yeah, and you just let your parents go. Like, I did have to correct my dad on something because he would text and he would say, "This is your dad." Okay,
actually, I think
mine does that too.
I would love to play.
On my
I would love
birthday.
to play one of his voicemails.
Oh,
because it goes, "Gary, it's your dad." Well, yeah, I can see. I have you in my phone as dad.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. You don't need to say. And I think I've recognized your voice.
Yeah.
But too bad he can't do a JB. That
And I
would
know
actually
he's
be
not listening today, so this isn't gonna. He already knows. I already tell him this. It's like we gotta have some efficiency, Walt. Okay.
Yeah.
We can narrow down like one thing. I know you're retired. You got a lot of time on your hands. Okay. We need to narrow it down. All right. One thing we can get solved in a minute. We don't need to stretch it out because what am I going to do for the rest of the 13 hours I'm awake today? You said a magic tweet of Nebraska looks good against UTEP. They're 1-0. They're on the way to having a good season.
Mm-hmm.
You want a Gary Sharp
34-10
blow you away stat?
Yeah.
A Nebraska football stat?
Something you would not see in a Magic Johnson tweet.
Well, you brought up 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would be giddy to be 2-0.
Yeah.
You know, the last time Nebraska started 2-0?
So 1-0 hasn't happened since 2019. 16.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Mm-hmm. The Nebraska football has not started at least 2-0 since 2016. 2-0. 2-0. 2016.
I feel like there was a lot of people in 2016 that were very disgruntled about that season, but man, there were a lot of things that were accomplished, especially in those first 7 games. It started with a W, and that was all you needed. Yes, it did end very poorly. I think we all can agree to that, especially encapsulated by a really bad showing against Tennessee in the Music City Bowl. But wins are wins. 7-0 is 7-0. Top 10 is top 10. Things weren't that bad at that time.
People forget they win in overtime against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They're 8-0.
8-0 going into the horseshoe, where don't think much changes that night.
I think when I look back on the 2016 season for Nebraska, which again, last time they started 2-0, not 1-0, 2-0.
Call the winning streak.
I got to call Coach Osborne. He'll never believe this, that Nebraska football has been 7 seasons where they haven't gone 2-0.
Yeah.
Let's scrap the update for T.O.
He would get up in the morning and they would already be 11-0.
Right. Yeah, there were times we would scour through the schedule and we would wonder.
Look for a loss.
When, at what point.
That was kind of fun back then.
Not even look for a loss, but look for, what are they challenged?
Back in the 90s when you played the win-loss game with your schedule, like win.
When do they play Oklahoma? Okay,
Everybody
it's
win.
always at the last game. So
all they do is win.
It was.
When I look back at the 2016 season, I want to put a wrap on it because it's time to focus on the 2024 season. I really think people do not pay much attention to the fact that Maryland game that Nebraska won as their home finale that year took a lot out of them. It taxed them.
It did. That's all we got left in the tank.
And they just look at Riley on a short week. That was a little bit tough.
Yeah, that's true.
I would I would buy either one of you lunch right now if you could name the starting quarterback for that game against Maryland. Wasn't that game on ESPNU?
Yeah,
It was like,
was.
I don't really care about this game. It was, I think it was an 11 a.m. kick on ESPNU.
Those are the rules when you're on ESPNU. This is 16.
Wasn't Tommy.
Mm-mm.
No. Not for Nebraska.
Oh, for Maryland.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tommy was 2016.
If you could name the starting quarterbacks in that game, you deserve a prize because they are two of the more obscure quarterbacks.
For Maryland.
Well, you can even throw in Nebraska.
Oh, wow. What a name.
He actually had a good game for Nebraska that day.
Riker Fife.
Yep.
Oh, it was
Max
Riker? Okay.
Bortenschlager.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't.
Bortenschlager.
I always remember
Maryland.
I always remember Riker Fife for the 2015 Purdue game.
The announcer for ESPNU, they showed him warming up. Like on game day, they did a cut in. They didn't talk. They didn't have any commentary, but they just did a cut in. And they said, hey, Maryland, Nebraska coming up on ESPNU. I'm pretty sure it was ESPNU. But they showed the quarterback for Maryland warming up, and his name barely fit on the back of his jersey.
It's the one that's going over into the
Jesus,
the back of the arm.
This will be so Nebraska. They get beat by a guy that can't even put his last name on the back of his jersey because it's too long.
Sounds like a really bad drink, too.
Bortenschlager.
Jimmy's got an update coming up at the top of the hour. But for everybody out there, you learned a harsh lesson last night. Those of you that have never cut the cord were probably celebrating.
Dude.
So Hard Knocks on Max and HBO had a little bit of trouble last night. Got a little bit delayed.
Yes.
Then anybody get to the bottom? Was Elon running Max last night?
With a Cybertruck?
So they had put out, I did not even see this tweet until I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. They HBO Sports or HBO Max put out a tweet saying that episode 2 would be delayed, but it would be coming up soon. And, define soon. It was supposed to be available 8 o'clock Central Time, as it typically is. And then there was a follow-up comment, which I believe was from their streaming service. It said it is now scheduled to be 9 a.m. 9 a.m., 10 p.m. Eastern time zone. So obviously 9 p.m. here. That didn't happen. So I started doing some laundry. And then I think I checked Twitter to find out when it was on. And somebody in the Chicago media said, with all of the alert emojis, said, we have season 2. Season 2 is currently up. And that was maybe a minute ago when I saw that tweet. So then I turned it on. Initially, it did not work. To refresh the app, and then it was there. So I think it was right around just before 9:30 is when it came on.
I was, and by the way, when you wake up at 3 and you haven't watched it from the night before, I did watch it this morning.
Oh, nice. Is it good?
They're not very entertaining.
I'm with you, and that's my team, man.
I love DJ Moore.
Yeah.
They have weird fetishes when it comes to ice cream, and
many do.
They need to keep Caleb Williams healthy.
Yeah.
But I saw people started to tweet about the issues. They wanted to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Then the old school non-cord cutters got involved. My question is, for those of you that were bragging while streaming was an issue last night to watch Hard Knocks, you were bragging. Who in their right mind these days pays for HBO? Like, has HBO actually on their TV?
Cable?
Yeah.
No, you do not. So no flexing by the non-cord cutters, because I don't know anybody that has HBO as a regular channel on their cable package. Now, I still have cable, but I also have television, which I've as YouTube TV. But I can't quit cable. I'm old, and I'm probably gonna be cable forever. Because you're all going to come back to me.
Even my parents cut the cord.
You're going to come back to me, and you're going to be like, "Oh man."
Actually, I've said this too. That's probably going to happen one day.
You got a lot of options there on cable. Now the prices, we need to negotiate the price.
Yeah.
But I say these people like, "Oh, you know what? Hey, I didn't cut the cord, so I'm watching it live right now." No, you're not. I don't know any person anymore that has HBO as a regular channel.
You know who watched it live? People that were staying in a hotel last night. They're the ones who saw it live because they have HBO as part of their TV selection.
And
their choices, their channel choices at their complimentary TV in their room. Those are the people that were watching live.
I mean, everybody else has got the app. You watch on the app, and then you Fire Stick it or how Google Chrome, whatever you want to do to get it to the TV. I was very disappointed. Stayed in a hotel not too long ago. And some places, like if you go to South Dakota or North Dakota and you go to a hotel, they'll give you like 75 channels on their cable package.
Yeah.
It's essentially the local cable package.
Right.
Like I like going to South Dakota, North Dakota.
You get a good deal.
You can see Midco live. But
the only
I
place you
recently
can.
stayed in a hotel where it's a Marriott, and so they limit the options. So they give you the local channels, they give you all the sports channels,
And
they
the Weather
give you
Channel.
the news channels, Discovery, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But instead of HBO East, Central, West, Pacific, International, the 17 different channels that HBO has, I was in a hotel that had Showtime.
Nice. Whoa!
All right.
Really? Damn.
No, not
Was your room rate like jacked up?
No, it should have been lowered.
Oh, they throw Showtime in there?
Didn't they have the Red Shoe Diaries?
What is even on Showtime?
I don't know, but it's there.
I'd rather have Cinemax when I was 10 years old.
Indeed.
And it worked at midnight.
Hey, 3 a.m.
Parents didn't put the lock on it.
Western channels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had Showtime, and I'm like, nobody what was the last, I don't even watch Showtime. I don't even know what's on Showtime.
Yeah. So did you? I mean, just out of curiosity, did you stop and stay for a moment?
No. I don't go to places to stay in the hotel. If I want to stay in the hotel, I'll stay at my house. I got a nice house. I got a big TV.
Not even in Grand Forks.
Trying to think.
A lot of things I'd rather do than stay in a hotel in Grand Forks. A lot of things I'd rather do in life than go to Grand Forks.
So is Showtime part of the Paramount family?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right.
I watch Billions. Or no, is Billions on Showtime? Suits.
Oh, okay. Yes. Suits.
So,
yeah. There you go.
Suits and
Suits is a good one.
Suits and Weed.
Until they got to the last. Well, until Heigl got in there, then all went downhill.
But there was a nice little battle last night between the non-cord cutters and the cord cutters.
Yeah, I was really upset about that. And I saw the same tweets you did about people talking, I could see this live on HBO. No. I didn't think of like, no, you can't. I just thought, okay, shut up, because I don't want to hear about it right now.
Why don't you just marry HBO?
But yeah, when I think about the people who were watching it live, I just assumed you're in a hotel.
I hope for your sake, because I got a feeling, and maybe it's because people I follow on Twitter.
That you're
there's a
rooting
lot
for
of
Ian
Bears
Wheeler?
fans.
You're rooting for Ian Wheeler, aren't you? The Howard running back.
I was rooting that Hollywood Brown is back in week number 3. That's what I'm rooting about,
okay.
brother.
That's very selfish of you.
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. All I know is I thank you. No, I'm a fan of the Bears. I mean, because of your ineptitude, we have our quarterback, which I always be
that's true.
Always be indebted to you.
Yeah, that's true.
But if Caleb Williams stays healthy, I mean, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the Bears become relevant again if I can handle Bears Twitter. Because Bears Twitter will lose their mind if you add on that Caleb Williams is the real deal.
Oh, we're like Nebraska.
Look how you lit up, Nick. I'm here for this if this happens.
We're like Nebraska, man. You know, there are a lot of people in college football are like, God, please. We know that college football's better if Nebraska is good.
Nebraska will not be – Nebraska could be 7-0, but not get buzz if the quarterback is not the reason they're 7-0.
That's a good point.
If Dylan Raiola struggles, but yet Nebraska's 7-0, Nebraska will just be like, they're 7-0. If Nebraska's 7-0 and the quarterback is the real deal, then it'll be through the roof, and the word obnoxious might be used once or twice.
If Nebraska is 7-0 and it's not because of the quarterback, people will look at the schedule and be like, this is because they got an easy schedule. That's why. So I'm not going to really get all that excited. But from the Twitter reactions you brought up with the Bears fans, and yes, I will be a big part of that. So if you haven't muted me yet, you'll want to mute me now.
I think I blocked you.
Or block me. That's fine too. That I will fully co-sign that it will be, but it will be very comparable to, because there are a lot of parallels between Nebraska fandom and Chicago fandom right now. You think about some pretty poor quarterback play as of late. And now Chicago, that spans further back.
Does that make T.O. Ditka?
Two different personalities, I would say.
The last time the Bears started 2-0.
Ooh, good question. Man, they got that season opener a couple of years ago.
2016.
Yeah, that's bad.
Not the Bears.
Yeah, I know.
2016. We're
Yeah,
talking
that's a lot.
about 2016.
Where even bad teams start off 3-0. Like, really, bad teams, because of the way their non-conference schedules lines up, as long as they avoid that conference game right out of the gate.
I hear Bill Snyder, hell yes.
Or, yeah, at least 2-0 before they get sort of that dicey, it's not necessarily an FCS team, but we're playing a MAC team, and they snuck up on them. Hell, I think Northwestern has started 2-0 more recent. And Northwestern never starts 2-0. They never do. Even on their best seasons. They usually are 1-1 with a loss to Duke.
That's true. Even the 95 team lost to Miami of Ohio.
People forget.
Many forget.
Not Jimmy.
Rain Man over
Okay,
there.
shout out to BTN for showing that Northwestern thing the other day. That's the only reason I knew
The 95,
this.
yeah, with Darnell Uptree.
I'm a sucker for watching those.
I like
don't
watching
care
that
who it
Ohio
is.
State game. But yeah, you're right. The Bears fans will be very obnoxious. I think the NFL is aware of that. I think NFL fans everywhere are aware of that, much like I think college football is aware of that. If Nebraska becomes good, gets off to a good start, and I'll entertain your point too, especially if the quarterback plays up to par and there's a lot of flexing going on, which you got to understand. Hey, there's a lot of pent up frustration, both fan bases, Chicago and Nebraska. It will be unbearable, but in the same regard, you got to understand it. You got to understand it. You'd do the same thing if you were walking in those shoes.
I don't know. See, I don't get it. Both of them being unbearable because they haven't been good in a while. So I think the true fans would be like, "All right, they're happy."
We'll make up for it.
I mean,
See, this is
definitely have the skill guys. I like the skill guys with the Bears. Just do they have anybody to protect the quarterback, keep him healthy, and then be passable on defense. I don't like your head coach. I think he's the wrong guy for the Bears to move forward.
Even though he changed his look. No,
he could shave his head, and I still couldn't spell his name.
He's another guy that if he had the name played on the back, it would be going from shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, Caleb Williams will be playing for a new head coach before long.
Man, I don't know. Fluce's new look, man.
You call him Fluce?
Yeah, the Fluce is loose. Yeah.
Wow,
you guys should have signed Harbaugh.
You are all in on being a Bears fan. I don't even call Andy Reid Big Red.
It's a lot easier to say Fluce than Eberflus.
What did you call Dick Duran?
Dick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Richard?
Yeah, he was a Richard. I'm on the fence about Matt Eberflus, especially and last time Chicago had a defensive-minded coach. It was John Fox. That didn't go well. He was part of that whole draft that got you guys your guy, and I still think to this very day, if you asked John Fox and they said, the Chicago Bears take Mitchell Trubisky, he would have been like, don't you mean Watson? So I don't think John Fox was a good fit, but I also don't think he and Ryan Pace all. The thing I like about, at least seemingly right now, is that GM and coach are on the same page. But this is the one thing I'll say about Matt Eberflus that I'm intrigued by, because you could have moved on from him last year. Not you, Gary. You've moved on from him, apparently. The Bears could have moved on from him last year. Wouldn't have bothered me. He's actually, it's kind of funny, Jimmy, you bring up Dick Duran. He's one of those coaches that absolutely leaves me flat. I have really no feelings one way or another about Matt Eberflus. The only thing that I am, he leaves me flat.
That's not a glowing endorsement.
Yeah, well, yeah, he just leaves me flat. It's not like I'm charged up either way.
Him.
Huh? No, the only thing I am defending him about, not even defending him, but I'm.
How can you defend him? What has
he
done?
Really nothing.
Thank you.
But he's only been
so
there for
has
2
my
years.
coach.
Now, the thing that I'm intrigued by, he's a defensive guy, and that side of the football is young, and they've got some pieces there too. If he is a part of cultivating that defense to be a big-time strength, because, yes, they have a defensive coordinator, but Matt Eberflus, that's his specialty. That's where he came from. Okay. Because I think that side of the football, as much as the offense and as much as the quarterback needs to be good, Bears football is traditionally good when they've got a defense. And I go back to...
Whoa, Jim McMahon and Walter Payton would like to have a word with you. Mark Bortz.
Yeah, look at that defense, though, when all of those guys were playing.
Willie Gault.
Dennis McKinnon.
Matt Suey.
Cap Boso.
Not Hideki. Matt Suey.
Matt Suey, number 26. Cap Boso,
From Penn
tight
State.
end. Some great names there, too. But, yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, the Bears were a Grabowski.
I am cautiously, as I think I say, anytime there could be some perceived hype about Chicago, it's never more than cautiously, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Like your skill guys. I'm in love with DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore, I love DJ Moore as a player. I think even more so, like as a person, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
They got some skill guys.
Rome's a good dude, too.
They'll better singer than Caleb Williams. If they keep Caleb Williams healthy, they'll have success. Anthony says the last time the Bears started 2-0, 2020.
Oh, yeah, in the COVID year. That's right. They made the playoffs that year, by the way. They played in the Nickelodeon Slime
That's right.
playoff game against the Saints.
We opted to clean the garage instead of watching that game because it was so bad.
Yeah.
A couple of things here before we hit the break. Andrew says, Cox, I'm a Cox guy. I like Cox. Builds an HBO to make your cable cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, I think HBO is always part of we give you HBO.
I wonder if I have HBO.
You have to.
I pay way.
If you have Cox cable still and you don't have HBO, I think you got screwed.
I'm surprised you didn't explore.
I think when your power came back on, somehow the OPPD took away your HBO accidentally. You might need to talk to them about that. Yeah, I feel like anymore it's like getting a napkin when you get fast food. You get HBO. Like HBO is essentially the napkin in your fast food bag when you go through the drive-thru. It's just always there. May not be all of the HBOs, but you're going to get at least one.
JD says, I'm your Huckleberry. Oh, there's more to this tweet. My DirecTV bill is $250 a month, and I have every channel. Who has still DirecTV?
Oh, I don't like DirecTV. I used to.
DirecTV used to be big in this town. Remember Clint from Technical Magic?
Yes.
Hey, Clint was our guy here at the Zone. We got DirecTV for free in studio.
Yeah, didn't every one of you guys do an endorsement for them too?
Yes, and
that's what I thought.
if we had the ability to get DirecTV, we'd get this reduced rate.
Can you tell me what the rate was?
I don't know because I couldn't where I live. I couldn't have
DirecTV satellite
because they were still doing the satellite. But DirecTV, like in this town, that is one of the better advertising partnerships that I think the Zone has had was with Clint at Technical Magic for DirecTV because we all talked about DirecTV.
Yeah.
We had DirecTV in studio. He was on periodically, and then kind of like Brooks Melchior and others like Richard Simmons, Clint just disappeared.
But it's like, wait, Sports by Brooks? Yeah. Those were the days.
Clint just disappeared.
That was really good, by the way.
He met him many times. I was like, this guy's a good dude. He loves sports, loves the Zone. Then he just disappeared, and it coincided with like DirecTV in this town.
It's because
like
of cord
fewer
cutting?
and fewer people were like, I'm not doing DirecTV.
Well, if you guys remember, so did you ever have DirecTV?
No, I did not.
Jimmy, did you ever have DirecTV?
No.
Okay. The beauty about DirecTV was, well, first of all, you got the Sunday ticket for free that first year, which was amazing because otherwise, I think you're paying over $200 just for that alone. But you got this amazing introductory rate. It was so good. It was under $100, and you could still get every sports channel you needed, but you also had HBO. Hey, we're going to throw in Stars.
But wait, there's more.
Exactly. You'd get Stars. And so,
or you'd get NFL Sunday Ticket.
You did,
which was the biggest draw.
Yep. You got everything that you could ever want from a sports standpoint and entertainment standpoint, and it was usually under $100. Then that following year, all of a sudden, you're noticing whether you have it directly taken out of your account or you're getting the bill that, oh wow, that almost doubled, and you still haven't paid for the Sunday ticket yet. So then you're thinking, 2 years later, you're over $200 when you paid probably right out of the gate $70.
That's why we got rid of cable.
And like Iowa JD says, I think by the time we said nope, it was, and I wasn't even paying for Sunday ticket. It was about $225, $230. And I remember asking them before I was ready to go, and I told them, we're gonna cut this. Is there anything? We'd been a customer for a very, very long time. Went from one residence to the other, carried you guys with us, never missed a payment, all those things that you try to, you boast your resume. You know what? Yeah, you've been a loyal customer. We're going to see if we can work with you. Tell you what. So I noticed you like you got that sports package in there. What if we threw in? It was some like obscure Fox Pacific channel or something, and they were going to shave off $10. No, not the problem. So I left. Within a month, call almost every day from DirecTV. And boy, Gary, you'd be shocked the kind of deal they could get us into now that we were no longer a customer.
I think the people that answer the phone at DirecTV are the same people that answer the phone at Sirius. If you try and tell them you're done, and then they'll keep giving you deals.
Oh yeah. But at that point, it was too little, too late.
Yeah. Technical Magic, man, they were good. That was a good partnership. They were going to put like a wall of TVs in the studio.
Oh snap!
And then and then Clint just disappeared.
And our beer fridge.
And I don't know whatever happened to him because they used to have a place right down the street. They were out, and we no longer had DirecTV. Like the first day he was gone,
Cox.
We had to call Cox. Like,
can you help us?
Okay, we got this deal. We used to get all the football games. And they're like, nah.
You get
So where was
cable.
do you know where the satellite was?
I think it was right outside the window.
Did they take it? It's still there.
Who knows?
Probably hot wiring.
A vagrant came here and took all the copper wiring. All right, 7:06. Jimmy's got an update coming up next. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Whiskey Fest is coming at the end of September, and the fine folks that are going to be part of Whiskey Fest will be in studio. We'll talk a little Rutgers football, and Brandon Vogel will stop by. That's all still to come on a Wednesday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Yay, music. All right. It just sounds so much different when they're... Anyway, the Storm Chasers dropped the series opener against Louisville last night, 9-2. They allowed 9 runs in the last 3 innings of the game. If the game was 6 innings, they would have won. Anyway, they continue the series with the Bats, as they're called, at 6:35 this evening. Weather pending. We'll see how it all works out. Hopefully it will. Daniel Lynch will get the start for Omaha. You heard it at the end of the show yesterday. Will Bolt has signed a 5-year contract extension with the Nebraska baseball program. His new deal increases his annual salary to $500,000, and it runs through 2029. They're coming off a 40-22 campaign, reaching the 40-win mark for the first time in a decade. They won 5 straight games in Omaha, which is where we live, to claim the Big Ten tournament title, and they made an NCAA regional. They beat Niagara, the school, not the Falls, and lost twice to eventual College World Series qualifying the Alligators of Florida. The status of J.J. McCarthy, this is the NFL, by the way, is in question after tests revealed the Vikings rookie quarterback and national champion has a tear in the meniscus of his right knee. That's too bad. Final determination to be made once he undergoes surgery this week. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell didn't do his best Jerry Burns, but he did confirm the injury yesterday, saying it occurred during Saturday's 24-23 barn burner preseason victory over the Raiders. McCarthy threw the second of his 2 touchdown passes on his final play and left only after he played the 30 snaps O'Connell planned for him to take. He didn't mention any pain or soreness until reporting it Monday to team medical officials. That's why kids don't ever tell their parents they're sick, except when they don't want to go to school. Doctors will decide during surgery whether McCarthy needs a trim of the meniscus, which sounds painful, which could allow him to return this season, or a full repair that could sideline him until 2025. Other NFL nonsense, and trust me, it is nonsense. The Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since Dak Prescott was 2.5 years old. Yeah, that last championship, and I remember it well, no Rain Man here, came on January 28, 1996. The next day, I went back to 7th grade. I was 12 years old, and at a time in my life when an erection right before the bell rang was among the most horrifying things that could happen. This is how life was back then. Anyway, along those lines, plenty of embarrassment and on-field excrement have followed.
Can we? Yes, please. I need a 30. I need a 30 here. Wait,
don't act like people don't know what I'm saying.
When you were in 8th grade?
7th grade. Oh, yeah. That was bell's getting ready to ring, and then, like, wait, are you kidding me? I was just doing my schoolwork. I wasn't even thinking about that stuff. And it always happened right before the bell ring. You watch that second hand go, oh, no, when it hits the 4, the bell's going to ring. Holy crap, it's getting worse. That was 7th grade. And the Cowboys were good.
I was going back to the sensation that you felt right before it would ring.
Yeah. No, there's nothing sinister to this. I was just a 7th grade kid in school doing his normal school stuff. And anyway, it doesn't work like that now. Okay. But
so you were fully husked.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, this
aroused.
is true. This was the day after the Cowboys won their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. And I remember thinking, man, they're going to win 7, 8, 9. They're going to win so many Super Bowls. They're going to have to build a whole new stadium to fit the banners. And then a few months later, Michael Irvin got arrested, and ever since. Anyway,
ironically, because he had the same sensation.
Yes. But unlike me, he was not in 7th grade Texas history class. He was at a hotel in Texas.
Yeah, he might have thought he was. I don't know.
It was Texas
Who knows
history.
what the state of mind was there?
He looked good at the trial, though, in the fur coat. Anyway, all this has followed for them, but the lack of another Lombardi trophy hasn't seemed to diminish their overall value. Sportico released the franchise valuations for the top 10 NFL teams yesterday, and the Cowboys were head and shoulders atop the list with a value of $10.32 billion. When did they hand out the rings for that? They became the first sports franchise to surpass the $10 billion valuation, and they still can't pay CeeDee Lamb. Forbes valued the Cowboys at $9 billion in September. I bring up CeeDee Lamb because his holdout has reached 21 days, which matches the number of games the White Sox lost in a row, but that does not mean he is not paying attention to what's going on at training camp without him. Micah Parsons, he's good, said Lamb reached out to him and said, oh, you're going crazy in practice after watching him practice film on his tablet. Parsons does not have back channels to the negotiations, so they say, but he says he does believe Lamb will be on board soon. The Cowboys have exchanged proposals with Lamb's agent, but work remains to get a deal done that would make him among the highest paid receivers in the game. He is set to make just under $18 million on the 5th-year option. Parsons is eyeing the September 8th season opener against the Cleveland Browns as the return. And finally, in college football, Texas suffered its 2nd season-ending injury at running back on Monday with true freshman Christian Clark tore an Achilles tendon in practice. Texas said Clark will have surgery, miss the remainder of the year. 6 days after announcing C.J. Baxter, last year's opening game starter, will undergo season-ending surgery on his knee. The losses leave the Longhorns with 3 scholarship running backs, and everyone, I'm sure, just feels sorry for them.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
A little bit of everything for you.
Well, I mean, you guys are fantasizing about Betty White.
It
B. Arthur,
wasn't
and
me. You said you
Rue McClanahan.
You said
Guys,
you
I used to paint pictures for a living.
You said you could do some Golden Girls in the middle of the night. Okay, I just tried to interpret what you were saying, and
great writing.
It just went from there. Okay, sue me. I mean, jeez.
No, don't sue you. You work in radio. You don't even have a fence.
It's true. Well, technically there.
You won't have it tomorrow.
TL3 writes into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
And Handley at 1620thezone.com.
That change?
No.
Okay.
It's still not Nick. It's Nick Grimm.
Max is horribly named. As a child of the 90s, I always think of Skinamax.
Yeah, well,
not HBO.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed.
Very much an R-rated show this morning. I'm blushing.
It's very much
people
where
that
it's
are
at.
watching us on 1620 The Zone TV.
Yeah, I just assumed that
My
they would
cheeks are flush.
They would carry over some of the old Skinamax library to HBO Max. You know, you could still watch episodes of Entourage.
Wait, they don't?
I don't know. I haven't
don't
really
explore
I haven't
that.
done the deep dive, but I would just assume that there's probably maybe a HBO Max After Dark category. I haven't.
Listeners,
should I check it out? I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
Speaking of Nick Grimm, so that softball team that gets way too much attention for being as bad as they are, that is organized by a radio guy in Lincoln that has some of our people that play on that.
Yeah.
Nick Grimm made his debut last night.
Oh, God, how'd that go?
Big softball boy.
I think they lost. I think they like 10-4, something like that.
It's an improvement.
But Nick Grimm made his debut. I think he went 0 for 3. By the way, Jacob Bigelow, shout out. Jacob had a couple of base hits.
Nice.
All right, Jacob.
But I think Nick's issue is Nick was excited to play.
Mm-hmm.
They have to find a position for him to play.
Yeah.
He also had a glove that was the wrong hand.
He could have asked his coworkers for.
So I can't wait to hear his breakdown of his debut last night with the softball team in Lincoln. That gets a lot of attention.
People here could have helped him.
So does he know if he's left or right-handed?
Nick, do you want to go help Nick?
I think he's right-handed. I think he had a glove that was left-handed. So he didn't know if he could still wear it and if it would work.
Yeah, he was 0 for 3, by the way.
It's a learning process. It's a learning process.
You know, they had him batting 6th.
You know, I mean,
Pete Incaviglia used to bat 6.
He's brought attention to their team. You bring attention to their team, you get moved up.
Yeah. He wasn't the only one who went 0 for, by the way, too. So you're all right, Nick.
Yeah, their season never ends. Then they just get done with the summer.
Well,
and now they're on to the fall season.
And somehow they lost just about every game they played, and then they were still a number 1 seed. So I don't trust this league. This league it's whack.
Is this like the lower power 2 or whatever you call it, the group of 2 or whatever?
2-pack?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
It might be the 2-pack.
Hey, 2-10 and finish second.
What does this tell you, though?
I don't know. I've heard more about Lincoln rec softball this summer than I've ever heard in my life.
I'm just saying.
I mean, if they're not, what's the T's 13?
Oh yeah, T's 13. Oh man,
yeah. And I'm not. You know what? Save it for something. Put it on Facebook.
T's 13. They travel.
All right. So something that Jimmy mentioned, the update that we touched on yesterday briefly at the end of the show, is Will Bolt got paid $500,000 is going to the baseball coach at Nebraska, which the latest figures, he would be second in the Big Ten behind the head coach from Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
His salary would be tied for 20th in the country. Not bad.
Yeah.
You also keep in mind, the head coach at Nebraska is now making $500K. The soon-to-be head coach at Creighton was well paid at South Carolina and is still being paid by South Carolina. I wonder what his salary is, Mark Kingston's salary is for this year.
Because I was looking at the South Carolina when he left, and you pointed out that he was still getting paid. It was just north of $750, I believe. I would venture to guess.
Does his pay, is he getting head coach pay? Or
as an assistant this year?
Does he wait until next year and he gets the head coach pay?
I would think as an assistant, especially at a place like Creighton, we'll never know that he's getting assistant coach pay.
2 athletic directors, though, that have made a financial commitment to their head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But the the announcement yesterday, and it's nice for Will. Nebraska quietly, when they unveiled their roster, because they've added some guys in the portal. They've had some guys that have had some good summers, not just Max Butenbach. But Rob Childress is recruiting like crazy of high school pitchers in the Midwest in the class of 25 and 26. They've done a really, really good job. Rob is out there. He is grinding. And it is well known what Rob Childress has done to the Nebraska pitching staff. So they're getting a lot of the Midwest arms that they're going hard after, they have gotten in 25 and 26. But that announcement yesterday, to me, it's not about Will Bolt.
Really?
The story is not Will Bolt getting $500,000 and a contract that goes through 2029. The story to me is the guy that gave him the extension is, hello, Troy Dannon. So Troy Dannon, I think, wants to have that big N or 1890 logo on his polo, and he wants to beat his chest, and he wants to be one of the big boys, and he realizes that Nebraska has money, and he's not willing to make he is not cautious of, I don't like bloated contracts.
Yeah.
He is front and center and wants to play with the big boys regardless of sport. And to step up and do that early in his tenure, because $500,000 for a baseball coach at Nebraska, that's a lot of money.
In the Big Ten.
$500,000. To me, it's more about the athletic director wants to play in the fast lane, wants to make a statement, and is rewarding somebody who had a good season, but also wants to send a message to everybody else. It's not just baseball, it's Nebraska. We're here to play, and we're not going anywhere. And also, I'm not going to jack around with your contract. If I like you, you have success, we're going to reward you because I want to win. That's my bigger takeaway from what was announced yesterday. Not the guy in the dugout, but the guy that sits up in the suite above third base.
That's an interesting read on it, because I immediately thought of between rewarding Will Bolt with a tournament run and a team that really did so, especially the way that they were able to do that in the tournament, a solid season. I would agree when we were talking yesterday to Brian Christopherson about having the tough draw that they did against Florida. Florida gets on a heater. But I also look at what he did with John Cook, too. You're coming off of a national championship appearance. Everybody knows about what the machine is at Nebraska volleyball. What was it? Troy Dannon was here for maybe a month before he extended that contract. And you have John Cook, who's just now shade under $1 million, who's without question the highest paid volleyball coach in all of college volleyball. You said one of the things that immediately went to my mind too, and that is sending a message to your athletic department and your coaches that if you succeed at a large level, that you will be rewarded.
Yeah, there's no messing around anymore. Well, I'm not. Big contracts are not really for me. I'm not comfortable doing that.
Well, and
Nebraska is finally starting to act like a big boy. Now, if they back it up in their performance on the courts and the fields, then you're cooking with some peanut oil. But they're finally acting like a big boy, and they're matching their brand. And maybe it takes an athletic director that don't know no better. Hadn't been here before. It was like, screw that. I'm at Nebraska. I feel like I got a pretty good job. Hell, I'm at Nebraska as an athletic director, and I make $1.6 million. So why would I be cheap with my coaches? We have funds to use.
No, I like where you're going with that, because, and again, I go back to, and I think I mentioned this to you off the air yesterday, is I'll use the baseball example in this conversation of, all right, what I would know as an athletic director, if I am ready to pay and I feel good about the guy or gal that I have in place for said sport, when they're coming off of a good run, a good season, you got to replace some holes, but what's your retention look like, which pretty decent, other than the guys that you lost to either graduation or to the draft. Pretty decent. What are you doing to evaluate that current roster? I mentioned to you yesterday, I don't remember a Nebraska baseball coaching staff, and this is no disrespect to Darren Erstad, who I have much respect for, and to Ted Silva and to Mike Kirby and that group that I was around a lot. Those guys worked hard when it came to recruiting. Will and Rob And now Sirianni and Lance Harvell. Lance Harvell, I don't even know if he spends time at home. I mean, the amount of hours that he puts into recruiting, that they put into recruiting, that they evaluate. And it's not even, hey, we're looking at, 26, 27 guys, but still trying to finalize this roster where just the other day you get an additional arm for the 25 roster. It doesn't end. I mean, school starts here in a matter of days, and they're still adding to that what you're going to see in the fall ball competition. So I just think that relentless effort to improve your roster, to say, okay, that was cool last year, but we need to make this thing bigger, especially as we got a couple new teams that have a little bit of swag, especially Oregon when it comes to college baseball coming in, that you're not resting on your laurels, so to speak. So I think not only was it the successful season, but it's the type of work that they're doing behind the scenes that, to me, again, sends a pretty strong message to all of your coaches that this is how you move forward. We'll pay you. But when we pay you, you're just like what we hope you hold your student athletes accountable for their performances on the field and how they get playing time, how they get scholarships and whatnot, NIL money and opportunities. You're going to get those financial opportunities when you are doing those types of things too. So that's how I looked at Will Bolt. That was the thing that immediately came to mind just after he made one most recent addition to the roster. 24 hours later, he's getting an extension. And I'm not saying it's because he's adding to the roster, but I think there's the work that goes into it as well.
Yeah, these don't all of a sudden happen the next day.
Sure,
These are.
I just thought that
these are long.
The announcement of
process.
it, right. But it's never deterred their work. Not that it should for any college coach. But
what do you mean deter their work?
Like,
oh my gosh, we don't have extra years on our contract.
No, not from that same. I'm talking about when you win a title and you're maybe not having to replace as much on the roster, that you're not the same type of work you put in recruiting the previous year of trying to bolster the current roster, that you feel like, hey, we don't have to replace as much, so we don't have to address the current roster now. We can look forward to 26. They put the same type of effort into trying to maximize whatever they can get in 2025, because you continue to see guys signing. I think yesterday's, it would have been Monday when they signed the pitcher. I think that was the 7th new addition in a matter of 2 months. Very similar to last year, where they had more holes to fill too. So it's that consistency when it comes to recruiting for the here and the now, but also understanding, there's going to be, at some point, they're going to turn the page to 26 and 27. It's a staff that works their butt off. And I think that also is being recognized too. I think that's also part of the extension of how hard that coaching staff works to try to improve that roster.
All right. We'll drink some whiskey coming up at 8 with all of you. Also, I think we have Dirk's Bentley tickets to give away today.
Yes, we do.
Okay. We'll do that in the 9 o'clock hour when we talk Rutgers football with Brandon Vogel. And we talk Nebraska football. Yeah, we're going to switch it up.
I like it.
When Bobby Darin joins us, we'll talk Nebraska football. As Rutgers will be in Lincoln for an interesting game on October 5th. All of that still to come on a Wednesday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. We are in full countdown mode. It is preseason week number 2 for some. As football is approaching, FanDuel is your friend, and do not hesitate. Get on the action early, and you can look at your favorite NFL future bets. And it's not just team and going to the Super Bowl, making the playoffs, winning a division. There are a ton of player props, passing yards, touchdown, rushing and receiving totals, and more right now on FanDuel.
Yeah, look at NFC Championship winners right now, and Detroit getting plus 550 next to San Francisco's getting plus 300. Detroit might be the pick there too, as they look to rebound from a great season. There's so many ways that you can get in on the action. No better place to get ready for football season than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sports betting partner of the NFL. Just go to FanDuel.com, use the promo code ZONE to sign up. That is FanDuel.com/zone. Sign up today. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online, real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. It expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800. That's off.
All right, 7:36 on a Wednesday morning. Welcome back to school. More and more schools are in session. You're always in school with this show. And for those kids that will not be going back to school because they're playing in Williamsport, PA at the Little League World Series, which starts today, go get yourself some, because I do appreciate somebody yesterday. I think this was a gambling PR company that would like interaction with a sports talk radio station, sent me gambling lines for the Little League World Series.
Oh, really? Did not see that coming.
Like South Dakota and Florida play today, and you can gamble legally, you can gamble on the Little League World Series.
Should we get Lee Sterling on? Maybe he can shed some light.
Now, there are some things that I will do.
Yeah.
I have not gotten to the point where I'm comfortable betting on the Little League World Series.
No.
One, because, well, most importantly, is I don't have enough information to make a...
Right.
I mean, I'm not just throwing money away. If I'm going to bet on kids that are below 12 years old
Mm-hmm.
and they're in a competition, I want to win money.
Mhm.
I'm not just throwing money away. So I don't know enough about, like, South Dakota. Like, this is a team from Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
They have made a run. They've been pretty good. I looked at some of the scores in their regional, but it's Florida. I mean, Florida's got bigger kids.
Yep.
The water is different in
They play
Florida.
year-round.
Yeah.
Caglione
So it's
have a
a
little
big
brother.
But you can bet on the College World, you can bet on the College World Series. You can bet on the Little League World Series, which will be on your television from today all the way through next weekend. Like ESPN, all in on the Little League World Series. Even the lead-up games, the
Yeah.
regionals.
Sioux Falls guys look like they got a couple big dudes on there. I think everybody's going to have a couple big players there. But the international part is where I'm. Oh, wow. Okay, I just saw the New England team too. You see the
Wicked winners?
Well, the New England. There's a coach for New England. They're out of they're the New England region. Sorry, they're out of Salem, New Hampshire. They have one coach who looks like he would either be a strength and conditioning coach or just a dude you wouldn't mess with. He's got full tat sleeves.
It's medium
on both arms. I don't know if it is. I don't think it's on purpose because he's just a big dude and he's got a huge red beard. So you know what? There you go. I'm taking Salem, New Hampshire. They look like they got a little tough in them.
Do people get excited for the Little League World Series still?
No, I don't.
Remember when it used to not be on TV except for
the championship,
the U.S. final, the international final, and then the championship?
Yeah, just be that weekend.
With Brent Musburger?
Mm-hmm. It's one of those places. Now, have you ever been? I've never been.
No.
I think it would be very cool to witness in person the setup, the way that they do that. Also, having lived in a city like we do that puts on a pretty damn good baseball event itself, just to see the overall attractions that Williamsport, I think that would be very, very cool. But once it starts, it's kind of unavoidable to where it just kind of blends into everything else going on. That until you get to that final weekend, unless there's stories emerging out of it, good performances or, a really cool story of a certain team, whatever the storylines might emerge out of it, then they make mainstream, then you might pay attention a little bit. For me, when I was younger, I thought it was kind of interesting because I was always wondering why we could never qualify for that.
We don't have from my understanding here in Omaha, we don't have many teams that could qualify for the Little League World Series.
Right. It's based on the type of league that you play in, and a lot of people play in. I know there's CABA, there's Babe Ruth. There's probably another one that I'm not thinking of. But yeah, like the year that Kearney made it, I think, didn't we have Hastings in there once too? I don't think we've ever had an Omaha team. And I think it's because a lot of the Omaha, either all-star teams or select teams, they play in a league that is not sanctioned through Little League baseball. So typically when you'll see a Nebraska representative, it's usually more rural teams or teams out in central or western Nebraska. Again, I don't know exactly the particulars of that. If there are some Omaha teams that could technically qualify for it, like maybe your Grovers or your Keystones, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that, but I do know that
those are people only play travel ball around here.
Exactly. But here's what I do wonder. At what point do you have to have your roster finalized? Because couldn't you put together a super team?
What they do in the NBA?
No, because so this is back in the day when I played Little League, and we could make it to the Little League World Series.
Yeah,
but it wasn't an individual team; it was an all-star team.
Okay, yeah.
So you had an all-star team, but yeah, you had to have your roster set at a certain time.
Okay. Because once those usually I've noticed select programs at that age typically wrap up right around 4th of July. That I wonder if you have to have your roster finalized by the 1st of July, and you can't take, the Gladiators and the Pace Setter, and I'm just thinking of old select teams. You can't take their ace off of those teams and then all of a sudden place them on the All-Star team. All right, let's qualify.
Ours was at the end of our season in the playoffs. They selected an All-Star team, and you played in county, and then you went state. But it wasn't like all of a sudden the minor Orioles had won, so we were going to make a run to the Little League World Series. Fremont Fred says the baseball they play in the Little League World Series is crap baseball. That's why there aren't any Eastern Nebraska teams ever in it. Fremont Fred, proponent of strong youth baseball in Eastern Nebraska.
Yeah,
Ed
doing the Lord's work.
Ed says, Gary, could we talk about the gambling on the Little League World Series? He goes, do you think some games are fixed?
Oh no.
Oh,
now
the adults get involved.
You know what? Of all the scandals the Little League World Series has had, we've not had a gambling scandal.
There's still time.
No,
we've not had Eddie with slides, who is fixing games in the Little League World Series as the second baseman for Mendocino, California.
And what happens if he's found that he's point shaving, if he's run shaving?
Suspended till he's 18.
I mean, okay.
He has to go live with Danny Almonte.
Speaking of people
who I think is older than both of us.
Yes.
The biggest controversy and it was sad because this was the thing where the adults got in the way. I think the players probably knew something wasn't on the level, but when adults are saying, hey, it's cool, you're fine. But the Jackie Robinson West Little League team from Chicago,
which was unfortunate.
That was because they were a very good team. They got stripped of their national title. Now they ended up
dirty.
It did.
I like to think of my 10 to 12-year-old kids as clean. Then all of a sudden they were dirty.
And then they had a player named, I think it was Neon Jones. I think that was his last name. They called him Neon, and that dude just hit bombs.
Everybody's telling the story, and it was too good to be true.
Yeah.
It's like Danny Almonte.
That's what stunk about that. Because again, I'm not putting the kids on blast for that, because even if hey, I don't live in the same zone or neighborhood as a kid that I'm on the team with, my dad or our coach or coaches or directors are telling us it's okay. So we're assuming it's okay.
This is Bartolo. He's 12. He's going to be our new pitcher.
I am 12. It just reminds me of anybody who's seen Bench Warmers. You have the 30-year-old guy who's drinking tequila, and then he provides he's got documentation. He shows a little picture with green crayon. It says, I'm 12, and it's got a $10 bill in there.
Looks good to me.
Danny Almonte is a coach now. He's back in New York City.
All right.
Is he coaching in the bigs?
No.
Okay.
He would be an unpaid assistant coach for a high school program.
Future Mets manager.
He played college ball, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
I looked him up.
Right after the Little League World Series, I think.
He played with Julio Franco.
I think he went from Williamsport to D1 baseball. Just like
Childhood
that.
friends with Otis Nixon.
Because he was old enough.
He's 37.
Yeah. Well, he was 14 in a Little League World Series.
It's been that long.
He went to junior college, and then he played in one of the independent leagues.
Okay. Would he have been a draw? Say if he was playing in the same league as the Lincoln Salt Dogs, would you go to Haymarket Park to see Danny Almonte pitch? I would have. It's that guy. And I'd hold him to a pretty high standard, too. He better go 3 hits or less. Better go CG shut piece.
No, I think I would. I don't think I would go watch that baseball at all.
Oh, if Danny Almonte is in it, come on, man.
His arm
I
betrayed
would be
him.
more willing to go see an Iowa lawmaker that pitches for the Sioux City Explorers than Danny Almonte.
That's okay.
I've
been to
true.
I've been to a Sioux City Explorers
Scholten,
game, by the way.
At 44 years old, is pitching in the American Association.
Whatever
team from Sioux City.
Whatever happened to Monet Davis? That was a cool. I mean, obviously, that was a very, very cool story.
She's actually in baseball. God, what is she doing? I think she is involved in some aspect of Major League Baseball.
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, she was legit. She was like better than most of even the boy pitchers. Like she had the no. I mean, she was unbeatable. Nobody questioned her age.
She's in grad school at Columbia.
Hey, but you know what? So the Little League World Series does give this. You remember the kid that was the apparently kid that looked like Connor Happer? Okay, that all of a sudden was on the Ellen DeGeneres show all the time.
Yeah.
It has been 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
So he just got on TikTok. I noticed the other day.
Oh, of course he did.
And he goes, apparently.
How old is he now? That was what, 2, 3?
20? I think he might
Oh,
be.
wow. It's way longer than I thought it was.
Maybe it's like 15 years.
Okay.
Whatever it is. He looks like he's late high school, early college age. But him, or the one thing that still sticks from the Little League World Series is the kid that hits dingers, who actually is doing well, like playing high school baseball.
Okay.
Whatever that kid's name was, Meathead.
Yeah.
Meathead, and all I do is hit dingers or whatever.
Meathead. That's Aqua
Meathead.
Hunger Force.
Who was?
Oh no, that was Meat Wad.
What was this was a long time ago. It was some random obscure MLB player that this East Coast team, when they say who's your favorite baseball player, and they kept naming him. God, I'm trying to remember. I know Odson would remember this. It's like one of the funny random things these are the little things of the Little League World Series when they go over their favorite player. Usually it's regionalized. Now you're going to get a lot of Shoheis. I bet you get a lot of Bobby Witt Juniors. I bet you get a lot of Bobby Witts will show up this year too. But this one was, I cannot even think of the guy's name because he was like kind of a 1-year, 1-hit type wonder. I'm trying to remember who the hell it was. I'll have to ask Odson, but that was also funny. It was a team, I think, out of New York or New Jersey. It was great.
CJ on Twitter says select kids would hands down destroy Little League kids.
Yeah, I think so. Especially if you could do essentially an all-star type team. Apparently.
Well, this kid looks nothing like he did when he was a kid. He grew up. He's still hitting dingers in New Jersey, a senior in high school.
Yeah, he made a lot of
Meathead.
I can't remember what the kid's name is. That just sounds like
cut it out, Meat. There's girls.
That is a little meathead right here. All he does is hit bombs.
No, he got a lot of attention this spring. He had a really, really good year.
Yeah.
And people are like, where is he now? And Meathead is like still hitting dingers.
Big Al.
What's wrong with being
Alfred Delia?
Yeah, Meathead.
I think meathead sometimes has a negative connotation.
Only if you're a vegan.
Just don't call him cement head.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Matt.
Touchdowns, everybody.
That was good.
Thanks.
Matt writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. Teams around here play USSSA.
USSSA, yeah. Okay.
Before that, it was Pony.
So what is the qualification? So is it just called Little League? Like Little League baseball?
I that's
right. USSSA was
a
a
few
big
years
thing.
ago, and somebody said there's that path to play in the Little League World Series. There aren't a lot of teams in Omaha that play in that division or that league. Like you can't be playing like a travel team, and all of a sudden you win the 12U state championship, and you're like, hey, we're going to Williamsport.
Wouldn't that be sweet though? If you could, you need a coach with an ability to sell, but an Omaha coach that could essentially get kids to not play select ball for either USSSA or some of the other leagues.
Roll the dice
and
commit
commit
to the Little League World Series.
Yeah, commit to 1 year of, hey, you guys are all good. You could all be playing for various select teams, and we're going to commit to this league, this team. We're going to ride that all the way to Williamsport so we can have Omaha representation in the Little League World Series.
Yeah, I'm sure that wouldn't be uncovered as a scandal.
Nah.
Code
of silence, buddy.
It begins today. You can find at FanDuel lines for the Little League World Series.
Who's got the best odds?
Bet responsibly, and make sure you do your homework before you just start throwing money at 10 to 12-year-old kids.
Use our promo code.
ESPN loves the Little League World Series.
Yeah, they do. They do a great job.
Actually,
more than the big baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It actually is probably one of the better things they do.
Mm-hmm.
They go all in on it. I mean, Kyle Peterson will be involved.
Yep.
And he loves the experience there.
There, ask him, Nick.
Matt Schick was. Well, that's why I wonder if Kyle can even give us some intel on that. if we're looking to make a friendly wager.
It's football season. I'm looking to talk and breaking down South Dakota.
No. I'm not. I'm talking about just a text to Kyle right now and say
podcast.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Coming up at 6:30.
I'm not talking about bringing Kyle on and talk about it. I'm talking about if I could text him and he can give me some info.
Oh, there we go. It is fixed.
Kyle's a guy. He's on the level. He wouldn't do that.
We'll talk about the Whiskey Fest here in a Whiskey Fest here in a little bit. Also, a little bit later, more football. Rutgers and Nebraska will be on the docket. And we'll try and figure out what Warren Sapp was trying to say yesterday when he spoke to the media as an assistant coach on Deion Sanders' staff. Yes, he went guns and how they're going to play. Welcome to CU. Welcome to the break. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, come back here a little bit. We're going to tell you more about the Whiskey Fest, which is at the end of September. We have 2 celebrities that will be in studio to tell you more, and we're going to drink. So that should be a lot of fun. Something to keep a watch on because it is the 14th of August, and this particular team plays a football game in Dublin, Ireland next week. Florida State. Has anybody else noticed the entertainer with the big ears that is on ESPN, otherwise known as Paul Feinbaum? I don't know why. Like,
come on, man.
That's all I picture now.
You went
These giant
meathead
ears.
last segment. Now the giant entertainer with the big ears.
He's got big ears.
He does. He does have big ears.
I
yes.
mean, that's one thing. Like Dumbo, he leaned into big ears.
Well, he looks like someone that would be involved in one of those murder mysteries. Like he would be one of the
suspects or the good guys?
Well, he'd be one of the facilitators of those murder mystery dinner parties that you do. He just looks like he'd go to a lot of those.
And Dumbo was cute.
Did you also go to Fremont and get on the murder mystery train?
No, but I've heard about it.
Right.
Haven't been in there yet.
So Paul Feinbaum, who is, he is an entertainer, and some people don't really see much value in him. ESPN does; they trot him out all the time. Keep an eye on this, because for entertainment purposes, I like to listen to his radio show.
Mm-hmm.
More of the callers. I feel like I know the callers. I feel like there's a guy in Alabama that him and I are bonding that I may go see one day.
Befriending a Gump.
So when ESPN doesn't own that property, they turn Feinbaum onto him, i.e. Nebraska, some other schools in the Big Ten, Michigan. But he doesn't touch the SEC schools.
Mm-hmm.
He all of a sudden, and this conference is under the umbrella of ESPN. Why is Paul Feinbaum going after Clemson and Florida State in the last couple of days?
Yep.
Does he know something that we don't yet?
There you go.
Because he has attacked Florida State and Clemson, and they are ESPN properties for now.
Welcome to the Big Ten. And all of a sudden, he was very high on Miami. Are they all of a sudden transition into the SEC too?
Well, they're ACC.
I mean, I guess
they're
ACC is ESPN. Yeah, that's true.
But why is he attacking Florida State and Clemson so much this week?
Because Tony Petitti has been on a lot of phone calls with them. Or the Big 12.
I don't know if you've noticed that or not.
Yeah, no, it's been for a little over a month now that he's been in on Dabo. He's been on Clemson. Even after last year when there was, what do you want to call it, controversy now when Florida State to make the college football playoff, he also was going in on the Florida State people and telling them to quit whining. So this is, he's been critical of those schools here in the last several months anyway.
We will drink here in a moment.
Let's drink.
We'll talk about the Whiskey Fest, which is coming to Omaha. Great event at the end of September. We'll give you more information and what will be going on during it. That's all to come up after the break. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region. It is a Wednesday, so we've got a very special Whiskey Wednesday for you right here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley.
All right, a great event coming up September. It is a Saturday. Nebraska's playing the road at Purdue. It will not conflict with your going to the Whiskey Fest, which is fantastic. And to learn more, Zach from Brickway is here, and also Lori, who is the owner of Spirit World, is here. They came bearing gifts. This should be fun.
Yes.
Because you guys have been sampling whiskey since, what'd you say, Zach, 5 this morning?
Got to start early.
But let's, before we talk about what we're about to sample, and some of us that are whiskey people and some that are new to whiskey, talk about the Whiskey Fest. This is a great event for people that do love whiskey. What a huge opportunity in our town.
Yeah, this is our 4th Omaha Whiskey Fest, and it's just a celebration of whiskey. And there were a group of us like-minded people that work in the whiskey industry that were talking about how we really need to put Omaha and Nebraska on the market as a whiskey market. You know, Nebraska is often considered a flyover state, and some of the brands don't consider Nebraska a big whiskey market. And we were talking about it. Well, what do the markets do that are considered big whiskey markets? And the common theme was they all sort of had this big whiskey festival. So we're like, we could do that. Let's do it.
And there's so much education around whiskey.
Yeah.
It can be a black hole of knowledge and can be intimidating for people. So one of our main goals for this event is to educate people on what whiskey is, what whiskey isn't, the difference between bourbon whiskey and American single malt whiskey and Scotch whiskey and Japanese. Why are they different and how they taste different? And we Laura and I live this whiskey world, and so we love educating people about it.
So approach myself, Nick and I and Jimmy, we all like whiskey, but approach myself as someone that is interested in going to the Whiskey Fest, but isn't a quote unquote a whiskey person.
So that's a great question. I do think that this event is geared to all levels and experience with whiskey. There's something for everybody. One of the things I hear the most is people that say, you know, my wife came along sort of begrudgingly, and then she decided to try some stuff, and wow, she really found some stuff she liked. And people get really excited because they're like, oh, I didn't think I liked whiskey, and I learned something, and I found a bunch of stuff I liked. So, but then we also have people that are very in the industry or very experienced, very collectors that come and still find new and interesting things that they're excited about. So it's really geared to all levels.
Well, and Lori, you at Spirit World, you guys have a full array of not only whiskey, but also craft beer. Zach, you're very much into the craft beer world with Brickway as well. I always feel, and maybe this is a misconception, but I always feel there's a commonality between craft beer drinkers and people who get into whiskey, especially bourbons as of late. But as I was telling you guys off the air, when you're starting to get into those tastings or trying to figure out what you like, this is where I think events like this, where you get the education, and Laura, you said it best, you get a chance to maybe put some things side by side and figure out what your palate is. Because as we know, even in craft beer, it's going to change over time, but finding the one initially that's going to get you interested in something that, okay, I like this, now I want to kind of take it a step further.
Yeah, for sure. It's the side-by-side comparison. You can walk into a bar and order a whiskey, and if you like whiskey at all, you're probably going to like what's in front of you. But if you have the opportunity to try things side by side, you can really pick it apart and see, well, you know, is it the sherry finish? Is it the grain they're using? What is it about this? Is it the age? What is it about it that I like? And that's how you really learn from it. And that's what this is, just the biggest opportunity to do that. We have over 400 whiskeys represented at this.
And we're going to drink 360 of them here in just a moment.
Right.
Zach from Brickway and Lori from Spirit World, two big supporters and sponsors of the Omaha Whiskey Fest. You can go to the website for more information, omahawhiskeyfest.com. It is down at the Hilton Omaha. It's a great setup. It's very convenient. If you've been to these before, this is one of the better setups to enjoy your time. It's from 1 to 5 coming up on Saturday, September 28th. All right, now let's get to the goods. Zach or Lori, what do we have here that we are about to drink?
Okay, so we have 2 whiskeys for you. I'm going to let, one of them is Brickway, so I'm going to let Zach talk about the Brickway.
that seems
appropriate. And admit that he knows more than I do about the whiskey he makes. The whiskey I brought for you is Johnny Walker Black Label. Nice. Now, you might be like, Johnny Walker Black, all right, it's one of the more, readily available. It's not unique. It's not interesting. For one thing, Johnny Walker's our title sponsor for Omaha Whiskey Fest. So we like to give them some love.
Yeah,
but also, I like to remind people that
some of these whiskey brands that have been around for a long time and that are readily available are big because they're good. They're consistent, they're well made, they taste good. And so, it's great to sometimes go back to some of these brands that you're like, oh, well, if you're getting into it, you might be looking for more unique stuff, but sometimes go back to the originals and see why these brands are big and popular, because they're good. So this is a just Johnny Walker Black Label blended Scotch, which means it can be made from barley and other grains, and can be a blend of whiskeys made at more than one distillery.
You mentioned consistency with taste of whiskey. Again, being a little bit newer to, especially the bourbon part of it, but even a blend like a Scotch bourbon blend. Scotch whiskey blend. Consistency to you, just with this taste would be what?
So,
Good question.
So consistency to me means across, as you buy this bottle time and time again, it's going to taste the same every time.
Gotcha.
That's one aspect. But another aspect is throughout the Johnny Walker line, you're going to see a note of consistency. So, for example, Johnny Walker, to me, it's not peated. So most of them aren't peated, I should say. So it's going to be a little bit more fruit forward. You can taste a little bit of grain, but with Johnny Walker, that's not a heavy note that you get from Johnny Walker. You don't get a lot of grain, you get more fruit notes. So things like that you can identify that are a through line through a brand. So, if I like Johnny Black, and I want to try a peated whiskey, maybe I try Johnny Green, because maybe that's sort of the next step. But, I think most brands have some consistency throughout their brand that if it appeals to you, you can identify some of those notes throughout the whole line.
And with Johnny Walker, you're mentioning the brands, the labels of them, and we know some goes up in price point too. Is it just availability as far as how that's determined, or is there something else that's rare that would take it from affordable to a little bit more on the price, the higher price point?
It's not only availability that can be a factor. Usually it's how much they produce. So it's a supply demand issue, but it's also what goes into making that product. So like Johnny Walker Blue, for example, aged longer.
Okay.
Sometimes they're taking their best barrels. They're tasting every single barrel and saying the best barrels, that's what's going to go into this product that's more expensive versus, and then some of the remaining barrels get blended into a less expensive product. So usually price is a combination of a lot of factors, and it can even be, Brickway is local. So it just doesn't cost as much to get it into your hands as it does to get a whiskey from Scotland into your hands. So there's a lot of factors, but it's definitely, a lot of different things.
Zach, why do you like whiskey? Why is whiskey successful for Brickway?
Just real quick, I'd love to answer that question. I just got to touch on the educational piece of whiskey that Lori's talking about, because I hear so often people saying, I don't like Scotch or I don't like bourbon. And they're lumping this entire category when there's so much diversity within the category.
Yeah.
And so if your very first Scotch whiskey was a highly peated whiskey from Islay, you might say, I don't like Scotch, because it's very polarizing.
Yeah.
Though they're lovely whiskeys, very much like if your very first cup of coffee was espresso without sugar. You might say, I don't like coffee.
That's a great comparison.
Now, if you started with a cappuccino, you might have a different experience. So I encourage people to go on this, with wine. A lot of people's first wine's white Zinfandel, and they work their way up to Cabernet. If your very first wine's a Cabernet, you might not like it. So let's go on a journey together.
Yeah.
So that's what Omaha whiskey is about.
Now, your connection to whiskey.
My connection to whiskey, well, I love it. I was a craft brewer for many years, and I found this beautiful brown liquor called whiskey, and I enjoyed it so much I wanted to make it. I wanted to start Nebraska's first distillery, and so that's why I decided to move to Scotland and earn my master's degrees in brewing and distilling. And it's gone, I don't know how you want to phrase it, maybe downhill from there, uphill from there. But
I would say definitely uphill.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, have a hell of a lot of fun making whiskey.
So, okay, and you mentioned the craft beer part of it, and then transitioning to the whiskey, and now they both live under the same roof there at Brickway. From just a manufacturing and production standpoint, I'm assuming that's gone up over the years too. But just starting that out, how was that? From just having the craft beer part of it, but then all of a sudden, then transitioning, keeping the craft beer with the great stuff you guys do at Brickway, but also having the spirits on the side, being able to have the whiskey part of it too.
Well, I mean, it's been an awesome adventure, and it's taught me patience. because a good whiskey, grain to glass, we'll mash it with our grains and get it into an oak barrel in, about a week's time. But then we've got to sit and look at it for 4 years. People often ask me like, well, Zach, you must have some 10-year barrels laying around. I say, well, I'd love that, but I have to do this other thing with my team called payroll. And so once we hit 4 years, typically we're bottling at 4 years.
Yeah.
But we look forward to having older and older whiskeys. And when we get to drinking our Brickway Sherry Cask Single Malt, this one is a 5-year whiskey.
Well, this is an award winning. What was it? The New York International Spirits Competition? You won a major award for it?
Yep. I believe this is won New York and LA International Spirits Competitions.
What do you think sets it apart?
I just think it's the balance of this really sessionable American single malt that ages 4 years in a brand new charred American oak cask that then we finish in a Spanish Oloroso sherry cask for another year. And those flavors meld together and it's just finished so light and sweet. It's just a lovely whiskey.
Going back to the education, and Lori, I know over at Spirit World, you guys have classes, and this is one of the great things about Omaha Whiskey Fest is there are going to be a lot of different ways to learn about whiskey. But when it does come to the classes, I know we touched on a little bit of it as far as maybe the more common questions, just getting into the ones that you're going to like the most. Oh, this is going to be good. See, we're going to mid-pour right in this question too. But when you do have these classes, is there a common draw to it? Is it just wanting to experiment different flavors, different palates for what you like with whiskey, whether you like it, with bourbon, whether you like it with scotch, or is it something that's a little bit more universal when it comes to the type of questions that you guys and your team is constantly answering when it does come to the education on the whiskey?
Yeah. So great question. I would say, first of all, I know we're talking about whiskey today, but we do classes on all sorts of things. We do wine, we do whiskey, we do all different spirits, beer classes. So we do a lot of different tastings and classes and different structures of events. So we do anything from free events to, ticketed paid events where it's more of a classroom style. That's all relevant because I think that style of event draws a different curiosity. But curious is the word I always use. Our the people that come to us they're coming to us because they're curious and they want to explore their palate, their taste. And it's not necessarily like, oh, I come in already knowing a lot or I don't know anything and I just need the basic. It's definitely driven from a spirit of curiosity and just wanting to expand.
What does a general admission ticket get me if I want to come to the Whiskey Fest at the end of September?
Great question. So there are, as I said, over 400 whiskeys. Each booth has a representative there. They're often from the distillery. We have master distillers coming. We have brand ambassadors. So that's obviously the huge piece of it. But we also provide lunch for everybody. There's a cigar patio where you can go smoke a cigar and listen to some live music. We do a seminar series. So there's a speaker who's actually the brand ambassador for Johnnie Walker. And then we have new this year, we have experience rooms. So we have, I think it's 5 different rooms where we have either brands of different types that are providing an elevated experience. So speaking of sherry finished whiskey, we have a brand that's presenting on why whiskey loves sherry. So if that's something that's interesting to you to learn about finishes and, what finishes work well with whiskeys, that's something that's being presented. So just more educational opportunities. And then, it's just a fun atmosphere. There's live music in the lobby and it's just a good time.
Zach, and again, with your guys' partnership and just being able to collaborate on this year, as this event gets stronger and stronger, I'm sure you guys have expectations, but more than anything, what do you walk away from going to this event and being able to be excited for the next time it comes around? What do you guys hope for?
We just hope for people to walk out with a just new appreciation for the diversity and quality of whiskey. And we're going to have quite a number of local Nebraska distilleries there as well. Love people to really see that the local scene is strong as well. I hear from so many people that they got the perception that if their whiskey doesn't come from far away, it can't be good.
Yeah.
And it's such a crazy misnomer. I mean, we live in this great grain belt. You think we're not making kick butt whiskey here?
Fantastic. Zach from Brickway, Lori from Spirit World. Big fans of both of your establishments, and looking forward to the Whiskey Fest. We appreciate the little boost at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yes.
You bet. Yeah, tickets are on sale now at omahawhiskeyfest.com. VIPs are nearly sold out. That gets you in an hour early, a special VIP room, and all the extras that go along with that. And then the GA session starts at 2, and we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, Hilton Omaha.
Hilton Omaha. It's a great time to
idea.
just get a room right away, so you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
But there are safe rides home with Hop and O'Brien, free rides home. There's Uber stands, so we're going to get you, there to and from safe one way or the other. But definitely recommend getting a room at the Hilton Hotel.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for stopping in.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, great seeing you guys.
OmahaWhiskeyFest.com.
And we do want to make sure we give, we got 2 more passes to go away right now. So if you can jump on in 402-951-1620, that's 402-951-1620. Caller number 4 will get those passes, a pair of passes to Omaha Whiskey Fest, which is actually a $200 value. And as you heard, a lot of great things to take in on September 28th. So caller number 4 right now, 402-951-1620.
We're back with more Mornings with Sharp and Handley after this. All right, get that website, OmahaWhiskeyFest.com, for all the information. Every Wednesday leading up to it on the 28th of September is Whiskey Wednesday. I'd be okay if we drank whiskey at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to need some food because I haven't eaten anything.
Yeah.
And so that was a quick.
Well, and usually
I cleared out the chest cavity.
If we would have had any colds or anything, it's always a good thing to clear it out. But if
I feel like Harry Doyle right now.
we're like in the 7th inning right now. The glasses that we were enjoying, the amount of whiskey, usually you're giving that probably a good, between the two, probably about an hour. We did that in a matter of 20 minutes. So I think what we're doing is we're just trying to give a disclaimer for the remainder of the show.
Yeah. People were saying, hey, Gary, you should sip it. They were watching on 1620 The Zone TV.
Were you chugging it? Look at you.
We were told to chug it.
I didn't chug
Gary,
it.
this isn't Fireball.
I didn't chug it. I had sips.
Just take some notes.
Yeah.
Ooh, sips with
Taking
sips.
some notes.
Coming up
So I have a
tomorrow.
question here.
Okay.
Leading up to this season of college football around here is we need a new category in terms of games and how we decide the importance of games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 new categories. We would like to win that game, and we need to win that game. And I'm going to use Colorado as an example.
Wow.
Okay.
I just read the quote.
Yeah, we're going to play something that Warren Sapp, who is on Deion
yeah.
Sanders' staff, said yesterday.
Yep.
So the Colorado-Nebraska game is very interesting. Remember, I blew you all away, not by my breath that has that whiskey on it. Damn.
Hey, the mics are clean now. All
You're
sanitary.
Seriously, man, I might be able to sing. My chest cavity
You
opened
good?
up.
Yeah, just
Because I haven't had whiskey in a while. I like whiskey. It's not my go-to.
Yeah.
I will go to the Whiskey Fest after we get done with Big Red Overreaction.
no,
Day.
just do it during Big Red. Oh my
That
God,
would be pretty
Big
good.
Red Overreaction live at
Cammy, make it happen.
This would be amazing. Anyway, sorry.
So I was thinking, like the Colorado-Nebraska game, in terms of the importance. Remember, I said earlier, Nebraska hasn't started 2-0 since 2016. Everybody just, first of all, stop on Dodge for a moment. Stop on Dodge and
Usually they do it
consider
this
the
time.
fact that Nebraska football has not started 2-0. We've talked about starting 1-0, and that hasn't happened since 19. Nebraska football hasn't been 2-0 since 2016. So week 2 is Colorado. Now, UTEP, I think defensively, initially is going to give Nebraska some problems. I think UTEP's defensive line, not bad. But Nebraska defensively will eat up UTEP.
Yeah, they should.
But week number 2 is Colorado. So if I asked a guy in Boulder, if I asked Bill in Birkenstocks in Boulder, is this, I would like to win the game in Lincoln or we need to win the game in Lincoln, what do you think he would say?
I think Bill in Boulder would say I'd like to win the game.
Okay, I agree.
He'd also say
Because if I stopped Bill that's wearing Builder Trend boots in Lincoln, we're just different, man.
I didn't know they made boots.
They wear Birkenstocks in Lincoln.
Hey,
Builder Trend.
I've seen them.
We in Lincoln, we have the Capitol Mall.
Yeah.
In Boulder, they have Pearl Street
They
Mall.
have the Ped Mall.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. So I would say Nebraska needs to win the game.
Yeah.
Colorado would like to win the game. I think Colorado would love to be 2-1 after 3 weeks, which includes a trip. Really weird. They're going to Fort Collins to play. Remember when they used to play that game at Mile High?
Yeah.
With the new Mile
They
High?
actually got him to Fort Collins. Wow.
Yeah, so because part of the deal is CSU went to Boulder last year. Remember that?
Yep.
Crap show of a game.
The escape by Colorado.
And then this year, Colorado is going to Fort Collins, which is, I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about?
That's a good beer town.
But after 3 weeks, Nebraska needs to be 3-0. I think Colorado would be comfortable being 2-1. So I agree with you. We're on the same page. Colorado would like to win the game in Lincoln. Nebraska needs to win the game in Lincoln. Do this as an experiment at home while you're by yourself. And if you're scoring at home, congratulations. Like to win, need to win. How many I would like to win that games on Nebraska's schedule can you find compared to need to win those games? Remember the discussion we had yesterday about Wisconsin?
Yep.
Nebraska needs to beat Wisconsin. They haven't beat Wisconsin since 2012. But back to something on the Colorado staff. as that game is looming and what that will entail and what that week will be like around here? Warren Sapp, who is a graduate assistant on Deion, I think he's listed as a GA, on Deion Sanders' staff, somehow, some way, met with the media yesterday. And he was asked about the D-line because good on Deion. I mean, you got Warren Sapp helping defensive line guys. I'm
good.
like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I'm going every day to work, and Warren Sapp is my position coach.
Yeah, there's credibility there.
But can you guys help me, whether it be Nick, Jimmy, our listeners, anybody else, on what was Warren Sapp saying yesterday when he described who stood out the most in the D-line room in Boulder?
Wow, that sounds like high school orientation all over again.
Okay, there's a couple of things in
You know
here.
where I grew up. It makes sense.
Not every coach knows the name of their players.
Sure,
I
yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Even some of Nebraska's coaches have referred to their players as numbers.
Yep.
There's lots of big boys.
You don't have as many guys when you're a position coach.
No.
Like if you're a head coach, you have a lot of guys.
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
refer to them as numbers. So Sapp referred to a couple of his guys. He wasn't really sure. But does Warren know? Has Warren Sapp ever been shot? Google that.
I don't believe
Google, has Warren Sapp ever been shot?
Wow, we got a lot of. The last search was Big Al hit dingers. All right.
Because I bet if you do Google that right now, you're going to get just this quote that happened yesterday. So
He's been arrested on suspicion of soliciting a prostitute and assault. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, we don't have anything.
He
With
kind of
nothing-
disappeared for a while.
Nothing about Warren Sapp being shot.
No.
No.
Or taking any shots.
Now, to be fair here, I listened to his whole media session.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Sapp, as a coach, intrigues me. He does have a commitment to coaching.
I'd be listening.
This might be his path, and his friend gave him a job. So that's a soundbite that is taken out of there.
Yep.
I don't know. So if Warren Sapp has never been shot, and I don't know how many people that listen to 1620 The Zone have been shot in their lifetime. Okay? Whether it be like some buckshot when you're hunting and you forgot to put on your orange and your buddy in the tree stand just unloaded on you and hit you in the buttocks.
Oof.
But
Don't go hunting with
not
him.
really getting hit. Like if you get hit by a 38 or a 9mm, it's not really it's not a big thing. But that was an interesting choice of words to describe who has stood out in his D-line room.
Last Action Hero stuff there.
Have you ever been shot?
No. I absolutely.
I think
have
it's
not.
fair to ask.
No, I never have.
I've heard.
I would
gunshots at a party.
I would have immediately interjected on that soundbite. Like, actually, Warren, there's a difference when you get hit by a 38 compared to a 9mm. So,
showing your wounds.
I don't know if I wanted to pick one or the other. I would pick this over that.
Like Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, maybe I did.
Whoa.
The accent.
Yeah, well, you went Ted. I would have just said a Kennedy.
Well, I don't know which Kennedy to say anymore.
I said shot, whatever. I don't know. That's probably the whiskey talking. No, it was a bit perplexing.
Lightweight over there, huh?
No, I loved it. That was really, really good. You're the one who chugged it like Fireball.
And is blushing now.
No, I would essentially. Wait, was it essentially or apparent? Oh, apparently. Damn it, I messed it up. I was going to try to get the apparently guy in there of Big Al. From apparently Warren Sapp wants it. No. Is it bad that, okay, I understand what he's saying. I think we all understand what he's trying to convey there with defensive linemen that whether he knows them by first name or not, feels like they're upgraded at that position from a year ago and that they have depth. But when describing depth at any position, when you start going into what would you rather have, a 38 or a 9mm, I'm just going to go ahead and say that's probably lost on a little bit of the audience when trying to describe said position group. Probably under the category of inappropriate.
Do people, I think they do, but I need to remind people on the 14th of August.
Okay.
Do people fully understand what a blank show the night of September 7th in Lincoln, Nebraska is about to become? Because you not only have, first of all, you start with Nebraska, Colorado. It's a night game. There are going to be people that'll be so juiced up during the day.
Ha!
I think
Friday night they will be.
I'm going to be honest here. I would encourage Colorado fans not to come to Lincoln because there will be
Morning, Josh.
So much buildup and anger and ferocity and this is our time moment. It would be extremely uncomfortable for visiting fans in Lincoln.
Yeah.
It's a night game. It's Colorado. You not only have who you are playing, and Colorado has had scoreboard on Nebraska, so it is paramount that Nebraska beats Colorado. But then you add in the factor of the head coach of Colorado, and then let's also be honest. There's a guy that got his butt whooped.
Yes, he did.
In the 94 Orange Bowl. 95 Orange Bowl, 94 season. I want to be fair.
Yep.
That
I knew.
There will be, and this is also, this might be next to the great Oklahoma games, the one game where Nebraska fans don't sell their tickets. They have been solicited, but they won't sell their tickets. I just want to, less than a month from that game, I'm going to continue to remind people, there will be such a blank show that night in Lincoln. I have heard from more people that are going to go to Lincoln, they don't have tickets to the game, and they don't care.
Yep.
They want to be involved in the scene outside of the stadium. They're going to be in the bars during the game, and then when the game is over, they're going to be out in the streets of Lincoln.
Yeah.
We always say, oh, I remember the Washington game in the 90s when Steve Entman just ate up the Nebraska offensive line and how wild an atmosphere that was. How big the Colorado atmospheres were in the 90s. How the Miami atmosphere was. People, you don't understand because there's some swag.
Oh, yeah.
September 7th, 2024 in Lincoln, Nebraska will be a GD blank show. I'm just telling you right now.
Bigger than
That's
Miami.
why I tell you, open up the res and look away.
So the week of, even last year, where there was a lot of national media attention on Colorado because they pulled off the TCU game. They're going to have the home debut of Deion Sanders at Colorado, all of those things. And we were wondering, what is Nebraska? What do they look like? Because I will admit, I was confused on what I saw with Nebraska, Minnesota. So I didn't know how to look at that game. You go into that week hosting, hopefully coming off of a win to where you can point to so many more positives and negatives over UTEP.
Oh, you said hopefully?
Hopefully you can grab a lot. No. Not hopefully you win. No.
You said it was going to be 34-10.
I did.
If Nebraska doesn't start 1-0 for the first time since 19.
I said hopefully you can draw way more positives than
Hoiberg
negatives.
better go buy some games so that we can start the basketball season earlier.
No, Nebraska will be 1-0, but hopefully you're grabbing a lot of positives. You're feeling good about what you saw there.
1-0.
And regardless of what Colorado, however they look, hell, they could get beat by North Dakota State. It doesn't change the type of, from Monday on, when we are in these chairs that Monday morning, it will get better and better and better that week, so much more than it did a year ago. And I joked when I said, hell, Gary, that's going to start Friday night. I think once people are off work on Friday,
maybe
dude,
at
it
work.
is game on.
Oh, you mean Friday before Colorado?
Yeah, the Friday before Colorado, as far as once
be,
people are off
it'll be
work.
Once the Saturday night game against UTEP is over.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, as far as the conversation, I'm talking about gearing up, lubing up, getting ready for that Saturday.
But this
Boom.
isn't. This is between two teams that were 5-7 last year and 4-8.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh man, this is a big game. This is 1 versus 2 or 2 versus 3. This is pure hatred and pettiness, which is great in college athletics. That drives college athletics. Rivalries drive college athletics.
Two quick things real quick, and I know we got to get to a call. Cheapest ticket that you can find right now is $274 for that game. The other part about this, too, is I have a feeling that this will not just be the local angle between our market and as much as people in Boulder or in the Denver market care about Colorado football, that they'll play up the rivalry, the hatred. Remember, this thing is a primetime national televised game.
NBC will have some fun.
Nationally, they will hype that part of it up. I think at one point we talked about this, or someone mentioned it. Might have been you, Gary. It might have been you, Jimmy, because you are America's team with Dallas Cowboys. Nebraska is going to be America's team that night. Because I think they will be. I think everyone else is looking at Nebraska saying, take them down.
Ask an Iowa fan.
Well, okay.
Iowa fan will be like, man, Prime can do whatever he wants as long as he wins in Lincoln on September 7th.
We'll exclude the other black and gold, but everyone else will be
a number of people
pro
will be
Nebraska
for
that
Nebraska.
night.
All right, before we get to Jeff here, think about this. Keep it in the back of the old 360 upstairs. Could you get to more than 3? I would like to win on Nebraska's schedule. There's need to win.
I would like
to win. This is Jeff on the Equitable Bank or the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
They're listening.
Hey, guys, I got a quick can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Jeff, I got you. It is you can do whatever you want.
All right, I got a quick story for you. You guys were talking about coaches not knowing players' names.
Yeah.
And this isn't a story to long for the 80s or 90s, but 1985, I was a freshman in Lincoln, and one of my good friends, fraternity brothers, was a walk-on from Kansas City, and he played defensive end in high school. He was probably a pretty good defensive end in high school because he was strong and he wasn't afraid to hit you, but he was too small. So they gave him a shot at linebacker, and ultimately, he long story short, he didn't make it. He was so slow. His 40 time, he didn't just carry the piano. You'd swear he stopped to play it along the way. So he didn't get a chance. And ultimately, after his freshman year, he gave up. But his first day at practice, he came back and was so thrilled about being a part of it. And he said the best part of his day was he was getting ready in the locker room for practice, strapping his gear on, and Coach Osborne walked through the locker room and said hi to him and called him by his first name.
Yeah.
And he
that's cool.
never forget it.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Jeff, thanks for sharing that story.
You bet.
Is that like when Eric Parseghian remembered Rudy's name?
Well, I think if you're a player,
and he quit.
I get it if you don't know the other team's players, because this was a Bo thing.
Yeah.
Bo would refer to numbers of opposing players.
A lot of defensive coordinators will do that too. I think Tony White does that with the opposition as well.
Yeah. Kansas.
Yeah.
But I think it's disingenuous if your own team, you don't know the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like a position coach should know every guy in his room.
Should be tight.
A head coach, for the most part, should know every player.
Right.
But like as a position coach, if you don't know all the guys in your room, I don't know, that's not a good thing. Because it's not, okay, so John Butler, from what I've heard, among the many things about John Butler, is his introduction to his room. It wasn't, I stood up in front of the room and I told people, hey, I'm John Butler. I'm your new position coach. And then put up a slide of his resume.
Yeah, here's what I did, yeah.
John Butler, shook the hands of every single player that is a defensive back at Nebraska that is in his room. And he didn't say, hey, nice to meet. He always introduced himself as Coach Butler.
Mm-hmm.
And so it solicited the player shaking his hand would respond with his name.
Yeah.
So then he could start to, but he's got a large room. But when position coaches don't know the names and they start referring to guys that they coach as numbers, come on, man.
Or bullets. By the way, I know there are some people in the stream that could not hear what we said. Now, this is one of those clips, though, that I do think context is important. So when he said he wouldn't single out one guy because we're a pack, he does. Before that, he, like Gary mentioned, and I'm talking to our folks in the stream that couldn't hear the clip, and if you haven't read or heard this yet, he goes over a lot of their defensive linemen, and then there's a couple of guys that he feels like he's forgetting, brings up a couple of numbers, but then that's where he gets to the meat of this quote, so to speak, and that is, I wouldn't single out one guy because we're a pack. We'll be 6 deep. We're just mixing and matching. We got bullets. You get shot with a 38 or 9mm, you pick it.
Now do it as Lou Holtz.
But if we're talking about defensive linemen, though,
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my little gun knowledge here.
Oh, okay.
I've never been shot before, but
you did stay at Holiday Inn last night.
Honestly, if you get shot like in the buttocks by a 38 or a 9mm, I'm going to work the next day. Here's what you should do. If you're a defensive line coach and you want to use this analogy, and again, I'm very intrigued by Warren Sapp.
What are you, Connor Happer? All of a sudden, you can get shot and go to work the next day?
Wait, he got shot and went to work?
No, but Connor always talks about, I've never been shot by a 9mm, so I don't know what it would be like.
We're talking about a 38 and a 9mm.
Well, I feel like if I got shot in the right area, I'd be in trouble.
Talking about the buttocks.
I'd like to see that.
This is just in the buttocks? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, not like in the head.
Well, that's what I mean. You made it sound like
Holy cow.
Well, you made it sound like you get shot by whatever, then you're going to work the next day. I'm like, damn,
So
you are
if
Iron
you're
Man.
gonna but listen to this though. So we talk about the tiny baby buffs. If I'm talking about the defensive line, man, and you're gonna get shot with a 38 or a 9mm, that's a skill guy. That's the size of Ja'Cory Barney. If I'm a defensive line coach and I'm going to use that analogy,
shotgun,
300 BLK or a friggin' landmine. Come on, baby.
I smell what you're cooking. We got 4 Panzers on the front line.
I mean, a 38 and a 9mm is pellets.
Tink, tink.
Bam.
Special teams.
Tiny baby buffs.
It's still that mentality, right?
Well
those
done.
Those are this is a great sports show. These are two of
a great show.
These are two of the smallest bullets of existence that are fired with some of the lowest powered classes of weapons on the planet. I would say my guys are built and they're going to be dropping nuclear bombs, not a 38mm or a 9mm, or a 38.
We call him H-bomb for a reason.
A howitzer, a Gatlin. Now, do you think so if Warren Sapp was...
if I'm a defensive line, I don't want to be compared to 38.
See, and that's what I'm curious, if there's a retraction of the statement, because some people obviously were offended for just the comparison to gun use, that Warren Sapp makes a retraction, says, you know what, I actually misspoke. And you're like, oh, okay, here it comes.
Yeah.
That's actually way too small of a gun.
I misspoke. They're airsoft bullets.
That would be so Colorado. If he did a retraction and actually beefed up the size of the gun.
Apologize.
And the power.
Apologize. They're bazookas, all of them.
I mean,
the type of recoil you're going to get on that one.
I want Terrence Knight, the next time he speaks, I want him to say, our guys are built like a 50 caliber machine gun.
Yeah, 50 cal.
Remember Predator when they shoot up the jungle? That's my guys.
You guys remember the last Rambo? When he goes all Rambo on everyone with the 50 cal? Yeah.
Your arm gets blown off. Carl Weathers is still shooting.
I'm surprised the line has not gone up in this game, because if you're going to come into a gunfight, and Warren Sapp introduced it, the 38 or the 9mm is not a primary weapon, okay? You should lose like a couple of points on the Vegas line because of that.
Eric says, give this room some whiskey and they can go bananas on Colorado and gun. Can this be the normal show?
Ooh.
The thing about what he said makes absolutely no sense. That's the bottom line at the end of the day. Guns or not.
But
what he said is, if you're going to make that connection, you don't go with those two bullets. Okay?
But how?
Thank you. That is my TED Talk on guns today. I will retire from that conversation.
And I will add to that, how Colorado was that? How you ask the question all the time, is this a serious football program? That, another example to put into the bank of how Colorado was that statement.
Colorado will be a challenge. I'm not going to hide that.
Great, absolutely they will.
Colorado will go to a bowl game this year.
I think so too. They'll be they'll be a 6-win team at least. Yep. But
Colorado in week 2 will be a challenge.
That is a must win. If you are a serious football team and you are having the improvements and taking the path that we all hope, and I think there's tangible evidence to believe the Nebraska is, you have to win that game.
A couple of tweets here before the break. Kyle says, I can promise you no one in the Big Ten in a 500-mile radius of here is rooting for Nebraska over Colorado.
Okay.
Kent says, Colorado game should be the game you honor the 94 pipeline.
Yeah. Okay.
So full disclosure here, somebody who I know that is involved in the video for Husker Vision,
Yeah.
I sent him an idea. I said, if you in week 2 do not have Warren Sapp and his on a knee at the Orange Bowl in 94 as part of the video, you should quit immediately.
Turn in your resume.
He has not returned my email.
Huh.
I
So
think
I like the idea of honoring the 94 pipeline team.
JR on Twitter says you're not going back to work the next day after 9mm to anywhere. Sorry. I don't know. Just
in the buttock?
I don't know. I think you have to have a good ass if you're going to take a shot there. That's my...
Which one of you guys would like to be to see if this theory is true?
It ain't me.
You can shoot me in the butt with a BB gun. That's about where I'll
Wait,
draw
do
the
we get
line.
workman's comp?
For being shot?
Yeah. I don't know the
I think
rules
there's,
to that.
I think
just
there's
remember
probably
COVID
more of a
rules.
lawsuit that comes with that.
Well, I
I
don't
don't
want
know.
to sue anybody. I like it here. No.
Just a weird... I think Warren got riffing, and he was like, okay. But I would have chosen something more powerful to describe my defensive line.
Just say like a bunch of heavyweight fighters with an.
If he describes his defensive line like that, what does the offensive line describe at Colorado? All right, 8:52. Coming up after the top of the hour, we'll talk some Rutgers football. As Rutgers is a darling. They are very much getting a lot of love. That game on October 5th, I think, will be a great test for Nebraska in so many different ways.
Be a good game.
Plus, Brandon Vogel will join us, and I will pose the question to him. Can you get past 3 games on Nebraska's schedule where it falls into the category, well, I'd like to win that, compared to need to win that? Alan says, all I heard was Gary has a good ass.
I mean,
you know what has been told about my...
Flaunt what your mama gave you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Well, my mama was...
Oh, boy.
Let's
We
say-
heard the first hour. If you heard the first hour, are we
Let's
going
say,
back? Let's not go there.
Let's say, Ma, rest in peace, wouldn't have been doing Pilates on old to the Today Show. I have a pancake butt. I do.
Can you please describe what a pancake butt is?
It's just straight.
Oh,
It's
I know
flat.
what it is.
It's flat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We used to call them NOS in high school.
My mama didn't give me any junk in the trunk.
Wait, you call them what?
NOS. No ass.
Oh, no ass? Okay.
And you'd hear sometimes a shotgun blast in from someone making and that they
Hey,
shot it off.
I've tried. I've done deep squats, and it ain't working.
Preach.
I got no hope. I'm way past that age to start building up the glutes.
I have that problem.
Or no,
with
it's
legs.
not the glutes. It's what is that thing called back there?
Your ass.
Your buttocks?
Yeah, close enough.
Glutes. No, it is
Yeah,
glutes.
it's
It's
glutes.
glutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, your gluteus
building up the
maximus.
glutes.
Your
I
gluteus
try.
maximus.
I try, man.
Come
I
on.
there's some neat deep ends with weights, but I got a pancake butt,
I got-
and I'm okay with it.
It's cool. I
You
got
know
chicken
what?
legs.
You know what? I got to go to the special section when I buy jeans for the pancake butt people. I don't go to the jeans that got the fake butt.
Is there a pancake butt section?
Yeah, there is.
Section?
It's,
I can't
it's back. You got to push the wall at Kohl's, and it takes you into the back.
Kirk Cousins cardboard cutout.
Wait,
welcome
there's
you.
like a velvet rope. It's like a secret society.
No, there's a bar in, is it Nashville? I think it's in Nashville or
called Pan-
Louisville.
it's called Pancake
where
Butts?
it's a clothing store, but if you know, you push a wall and you go into the bar.
And
It's
then all
like
of a sudden-
movie gallery in the back room.
That's what Brickway should do, or Spirit World.
Yep.
We'll sample a little whiskey.
Great places.
All right, we got to take a break. Phew. Whew. I'm worn out now.
I want you guys to check your email and who we got it from. And I got a little worried.
We still have an hour to go. Oh, I see.
Yeah. When I saw who it was from, I'm like, uh-oh.
She was like, wait.
Yeah.
Do you guys hold
but,
out
but,
on me?
but we're good. We're good. Don't worry. It wasn't about anything that pertains to this show.
Yeah. FOMO. That's all it was.
What are we doing?
I just saw them. Oh. No, we're not doing anything.
Great show. Read our emails that are not from listeners.
Yeah.
All right, it's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Big energy. Haven't heard this song in a while.
Yeah, there's something about a poll. God, what does she say about the poll here coming up? It's coming.
I hope this is the edited version because we're about to drop something.
Yeah. Yeah, busting on a pole like onions means what?
Something about Raftery.
Do I need to look that up?
That does sound like an urban dictionary.
Oh. Okay, that makes sense now.
I had to help Nick over here.
Thank you.
Yes. I can't say that on air, and I will not say that on air.
We've said enough on air today.
Max writes into the Equitable Bank inbox.
That's one way of describing
so
it.
look at it this way. 17 days from the start of the season. You would like to win this game. You need to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, I think, would like to win the game in Lincoln. Nebraska needs to win the game in Lincoln. Max breaks this down. Need to win. Colorado, obvious reasons. Illinois need to start 1-0 in the Big Ten for the first time in forever. Let's pause for a moment. Nebraska has not started 1-0 since 2019. They haven't started 2-0 since 2016. Thank you, Max.
Mm-hmm.
Plus a big primetime night stage. Got to start winning games people are watching. I like that. UCLA, assuming 2 losses in a row coming into this game against first-year head coach, got to show how you can stay on track.
Wait. UCLA assuming 2 losses coming into UCLA?
UCLA, not Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Wisconsin, obvious reasons, win one already, especially now while they're a little down from Wisconsin the last 2 decades. Max, we are in lockstep here.
You guys are.
Nebraska hasn't beat Wisconsin since 2012. It's a home game. If you perceive that Wisconsin is down, this would be the opportunity because it would be a gut punch to go another year and not get this Wisconsin team. Last year in Madison was a gut punch. Nebraska had Wisconsin on the ropes and could not finish the deal. And then Iowa can't decide. It's probably like to win, but I hate Iowa, so maybe it's a need to win. UTEP, Northern Iowa honestly need to win as well for obvious reasons, but we really don't need to dive into that.
Yeah,
So
I don't think there's more than 3.
So there's Ohio State that he's missing.
Yep,
USC that he is missing in there as well.
Mm-hmm. See, I put Iowa in there. I'm sorry, not as a. I put Iowa in the need to win. I know if I'm hearing you correctly, you're more in the would like to win. Wisconsin's a need to win. I understand what you guys are saying when it comes to Wisconsin as a need to win based on where they are. And I think the home game thing does matter. Maybe I'm just conditioned right now that Wisconsin will typically not go well, but you had at least a victory over Iowa in Iowa City the last time Nebraska was there. I get a different personnel, different team and everything. But I just think if you are a team that makes a big jump, final game, regular season, on the road, prime time, to me, that leans, the way that I look at the season, that leans more to a need to win.
Last 3 games of the year from Nebraska's schedule: at USC, Wisconsin, at Iowa. Will Nebraska be favored in any of those 3?
Yes, 1. I think Wisconsin.
No, yes, no.
Yep, I agree.
Slight underdog at USC.
As
touchdown.
of right now, on offshore lines, no. 10-point underdog to USC, 2.5-point underdog to Wisconsin, 8.5-point underdog to Iowa.
Wow.
I just
10
said,
at USC.
I just said 6.5 with Iowa and a 3-point favorite
Hey,
against Wisconsin.
People know Nebraska's troubles in big games on the road.
Yep.
So you prove otherwise.
That is fair.
And, you won't be able to prove otherwise until you go to Columbus at the end of October.
Trustability.
All right, we'll talk Rutgers. That same offshore line, Rutgers is a Nebraska 2.5-point favorite for an interesting game on October 5th. Interesting year for Greg Schiano in Piscataway, New Jersey. We'll talk Rutgers football coming up next. Brandon Vogel as well in the last hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. right, time to talk some Rutgers football. As we welcome in a guy that has been on the show many times, and we haven't always been this optimistic, but Bobby Darin joins us from ScarletNation.com. Bobby, first of all, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
We've talked in the past, and it's hasn't been with a ton of enthusiasm because of the division Rutgers is in. But now we're going to talk, and I should let you know that there's a lot of people on this radio station and in this fan base that look at Rutgers and go, I'm intrigued. That game in Lincoln October 5th is something I'm going to pay a lot of attention to. Are you sensing the same thing around the Rutgers football program? They won the schedule lottery. They've got a veteran defense, tough offensive line, one of the better running backs in the country, that this is the year that Rutgers makes a big jump.
Yeah, and that's the sentiment. The biggest thing is, they've had for the last 10 years, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan on the schedule, and they went 1-29 in those games. So you were automatically crossing off 3 losses going into a season. You don't have that this year. So you combine that with the fact that you have all these starters returning on defense, 9 players with starting experience, and your offensive line is back. You have a transfer quarterback who's an upgrade. The Big Ten leading rushers coming back. They think they can really have a big year, a potential double-digit win season.
Bobby, I'm glad you brought up the quarterback position because Athan Kaliakmanis, we saw him in Minnesota. There were moments, especially early on in his tenure in Minnesota, you say, okay, athlete playing the position, could do some things. Last year maybe wasn't the strongest year, although Minnesota had a lot of other areas. What has his spring and now into fall look like based on what you're hearing and how he fits into this offense with Rutgers?
I've been down there practicing, and he's an upgrade from Gavin Wimsatt. And, you mentioned that he had some success earlier in 2022. His offensive coordinator then was the same coordinator now. Kirk Soraka was at Minnesota, and, that's kind of the reason he went out and got him. He knew him. They were familiar with each other. And in talking to some people close to the situation, they think he can really thrive under that direction because the two really clicked. So the 5 games he started and excelled in 2022 was when Kirk Soraka was OC. Now they're reunited there, and he doesn't have to be spectacular because, if you look back last year, Rutgers' passing game was kind of disastrous. Gavin Wimsatt had a really tough season, and he missed a lot of throws you take for granted that a Big Ten quarterback should make. Kaliakmanis is making those throws, and he has a better receiving core now than Rutgers had last season. So it's going to be a big upgrade from what Rutgers saw in the passing game. He might not be an all Big Ten quarterback, but compared to what Rutgers had last year, it's going to be a significant boost, and that should really help the offense because it was really one-dimensional last year with the running game.
Hey, I think one of the sneaky hires as an assistant that flew under the radar, but I think had a major impact was Pat Flaherty. What Schiano hiring him, and he's an offensive line guru. What do you think he did for that offensive line last year and also that running back? I mean, Kyle had a massive year, but also what it's going to be in year 2 with a lot of the same guys from last year coming back on the offensive line and, of course, at running back.
Yeah, and the players just rave about Flaherty with the knowledge that he brings. He was, 2-time offensive line coach for or 2-time champion with the New York Giants as an offensive line coach. And the way they did it, he came in and he was able to do the coaching, but didn't have to go on the road recruiting. So they didn't load him up with that because he's an older guy, but he was able to do a lot of that teaching. And just from that standpoint, he really, the players say it just really clicks the way he explains things, breaks it down and teaches them techniques. And, some of the offensive linemen are older guys, so you're not going to see them make huge leaps and bounds physically, but from a technique and mental aspect of it, they've grown. So you saw a progression last year. I don't see a huge jump this year, but you will see them, improve. And everybody who's played under him at Rutgers just raves about him.
Bobby, we know the Greg Schiano, the defensive attachment there, and we hear a lot of this when it comes to Schiano, especially in college ball, that you're going to get Greg Schiano guys. And as this team continues to evolve with his second time now with this Rutgers football program, I want to get to your thoughts on the way that they are recruiting too, because we're starting to see Rutgers make strides in recruiting when it comes to getting the type of guys, maybe not even necessarily the 5-star guys, which obviously in that side of the country, there are plenty there. but getting the guys that are going to fit best with Greg Schiano. If I were to say he's getting his type of players, that would mean what to you?
Guys that fit his culture, guys that are maybe not, like you said, the 4-star, but have the tools to grow into, significant Big Ten players. He goes after guys, certain physical characteristics, obviously, but also goes after, good academic kids. I was just talking to a kid yesterday, a recruit, and he's going to come in the spring semester as an early enrollee already as a sophomore in credits because he's accelerated academically in high school. So these are the type of kids he goes after. And they're very particular with who they offer. If you look at the offer list through the Big Ten, I think maybe Ohio State is the only school that offers less kids than Rutgers. They're very particular. He just doesn't go blanket offers, and he offers the kids in person, brings them up, gets the feel of them. It's kind of like a test too when he brings them up. Do I want to offer this kid or not? Because they want to see what type of person he is. Is he going to work? They demand a lot of these kids all year round with the culture there that they have. But so it's not really one for everybody. Just because the kid's 4-star, he's not going to go out and grab them. So he wants kids that are going to work, that are going to love football, that are high academics.
Let's a different aside. There's a lot of people here, Bobby, that have made the trip out to Rutgers and it seems like Nebraska and Rutgers are playing more often. But a lot of people go out, they spend some time in the city, then they go out to New Jersey and go to the football game. But the response we get is it's just kind of a blah atmosphere. There aren't a lot of people there. It seems like there's more Nebraska fans. If the excitement and the reality of this could be a really good football team, is that also in the fan base? Like when we flip on to watch the game against Washington on September 27th, is the stadium going to be pretty full? I mean, what's your sense of the fan base and like, okay, now this seems like the Rutgers that was dominating the Big East. Yeah. That enthusiasm.
That should be back this year. And even since Greg Schiano came back, there were struggles at home. Even when they were winning some games early on, they were winning all those games on the road. So there was a limited Big Ten victories at home. So you get these schools come in and people would say, oh, same old story, and there was some dark times before Greg took back over. So it was a fan base that was kind of beaten down, but ticket sales have been way up this year. And, early on, you open up with Akron, Howard, you'll get the people there for that. And then a road game against Virginia Tech. Then Washington comes in that Friday night game. That should be one of the best atmospheres, I believe, that they've had in a while. They've momentum. And I think you'll see a difference in that. And that's one thing that Greg really wanted to create was that home field advantage. But it was lost because, it was such a dark time since he left with some of those, horrendous losses. There was a game they lost to Michigan 78-0, a night game there, which was just, watching games like that, it just beat the fan base down. But I do think you'll see it. And if they keep winning, it'll just continue to build. But he didn't sugarcoat. He said, we have to win.
Well, and Bobby, part of that winning, and we know if you don't play the game, you're not going to win. And by playing the game, I mean the NIL game, evolving with what college football is now heading towards. Where is this Rutgers football program positioned when it does come to everything from player compensation, being able to attract players from the transfer portal and present to them not just, hey, a guy who used to coach in the NFL too, but also some type of financial opportunities as well?
They're doing better with the NIL, but they're not able to compete, with the top of the Big Ten. Like some of the players that have stayed since last year accepted less NIL to stay at Rutgers because of what Greg has built and the promise of bringing guys to the NFL. Last year, Rutgers had 7. Right now, some of them were released, but heading into NFL camps, there were 7 undrafted guys who were in NFL camps, and some of them you look at and you go, wow, how does that guy get there? He does a good job of preparing guys, and that's one thing he sells to transfers. That look, I can get you in the NFL camp. It's your job to make the team, even if you're not drafted. But that's a selling point. Recently with the rev sharing, I think it helped with recruiting in NIL. They have similar struggles to a lot of schools that aren't the big time blue bloods with the donors in terms of compensation, but they've been able. They only lost 2 players to the transfer portal that they really wanted. Well, actually, one they lost a lineman in Renee Conga, and Gavin Wimsett left because he wasn't going to be the starter. Yeah. So they did a really good job of retaining. Now going out and grabbing transfers, that they were a little short on what they could get, but but they did a decent job. Dymere Miller, who they brought in, it was the FCS leading receiver at Monmouth last year, and he's looking like he's going to be their number one receiver. Could be the best one they've had since Greg took over. So it's definitely it's getting better, the NIL.
Bobby Darin, who covers Rutgers for the 24/7 site, scarletnation.com. That defense last year showed up in a lot of top 40 rankings, even some top 20 rankings. Could they be better this year?
They have pretty much the same group back. They lost Max Melton to the NFL draft, who was picked in the second round by the Arizona Cardinals. That's the only real big hole they have to replace. And one thing that will help them is a better offense. Last year, the defense was on the field way too much because I had mentioned before, the passing game couldn't get going. If you look back at a game when they played at Iowa, they're basically down 3-0 going into the fourth quarter, and they're running the ball on 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 10s in Iowa territory. So that ought to tell you where they were at, with the confidence level in the passing game. And a good offense this year, a better offense, I should say, will really help the defense. And you have everybody back. As long as they can stay healthy, I think that defense has a chance to be better because they're not going to be asked to do as much in terms of being on the field, for a prolonged time during the game.
Bobby, with everything that we just discussed, and again, I think justified optimism around Piscataway and around this Rutgers football program, in 2024, in your opinion, what does a successful season look like?
I mean, people are saying, minimum should be 8-4. People saying 10-2, and I've heard all types of things. But a lot of these games are. I think this season is going to come down to some of these games against Nebraska, against Wisconsin, against Washington. Ones that really could go either way, and a bunch of them should be close. Even Virginia Tech, who they play the third game on the road with, it's going to be a battle. So, if they can find ways to get the breaks, to make the play, to not turn the ball over, some of those little things. It could be a 10-win season, but on the other side, if they don't get those plays, it could be an 8-win season. But look, this is a team that did not make a bowl game since 2014, and they made one last year. It was their first winning season in a decade. So, even an 8-win season this year would be a step up. I know some people are want a lot more, but you have to look where it's at. And I think the floor should be 8 wins. But there is the potential for more. So it's going to come down to some close games.
Yeah. Bobby, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll see you in Lincoln in October.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
That's Bobby Darin. So Rutgers shows up, and there's a lot of schedule talk of teams that avoid such and such. Yeah. Rutgers by far won the Big Ten scheduling lottery. They are the only team in the league that avoids all of the top 5 teams.
Yep.
So Rutgers, from being bludgeoned in that division, all of a sudden gets an opportunity. So that's why Iowa and Rutgers show up as sleepers to possibly make the playoff, because they're looking at their schedule. Here's their schedule, though. When they come to Lincoln, and I said early on this summer, that's a game to watch because of the way they play and the way Nebraska wants to play. That's going to be a butting of heads, and it actually might be the most competitive game that Nebraska has up to that point.
Yep.
Rutgers will come into that game and they will be 3-1. Nebraska will come into that game and they will be 5-0. Rutgers is not going to Blacksburg to beat Virginia Tech. If you've not picked up on what I'm putting out there, I'm a big fan of Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I think Virginia Tech is in a great spot this year with quietly. Silent is different from quiet. Quietly, a quarterback that if he gets off to a good start could get some Heisman mentions. I like Virginia Tech a lot, but it's scary if Rutgers goes on the road and wins at Virginia Tech, because then they're beating Washington on a short week when Washington has to come all the way across the country, from Seattle all the way to Piscataway. If they're unbeaten when they come here, watch out. I'll be curious to see what the kick time for that game would be, but I think they'll be 3-1 against a 5-0 Nebraska on that 5th of October.
I find it very interesting to go from Rutgers, and I'm not saying Bobby's not the only one talking about this as far as what the ceiling could ultimately be for Rutgers, because and we're going to experience this today. BTN crew doing their bus tour. The first one they went to was Rutgers, very high on a lot of different aspects of this team. I'm still reserving my judgment, or reluctant to say you're in a very good spot quarterback-wise, because we have seen enough of Athan Kaliakmanis to know that there can be some problems there. But yes, when you have a guy like Kyle Monaghan to hand off to, I mean there's. But
they're Iowa, the East Coast. That's their path this year.
You're absolutely right. Very physical, good line of scrimmage play, solid defense, similar-minded coach when it comes to those principles. All of that with a schedule that is favorable. But to think that you're a team that qualified for a bowl game to where there are people that are judging a successful 2024 campaign for Rutgers to be a 10-win season, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on that. I think that is a team that they might lose 4, maybe 5 games, but the thing where I think Rutgers makes the biggest jump this year is in those games, they will leave no doubt about how close that they are to competing. I think that is a very physical football team, and I've always liked Greg Schiano as a college football
They're
coach.
8-4. They're the Iowa, the East Coast. They don't have a great quarterback, but they have a good running back. They got a good offensive line. They're going to play good defense. Special teams are nowhere in the ballpark of Iowa, but they're going to win those games, and they got a very favorable schedule. I see them as 8-4. I also saw something. So I went down the rabbit hole with Turner Corcoran, and Rutgers is in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember a Friday night during COVID? Well, COVID was, we'd stretched a football season.
Was this Champions Week?
And it was Champions Week.
Oh, yes.
And we were so excited for Champions Week because we had football a week before Christmas. It was December 18th.
Yes, it was.
2020. Not many people made the trip out to New Jersey, but Steve Sipple did. Luke McCaffrey warmed up on the field in uniform.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, he's on the sidelines when the game starts in street clothes.
Yep.
Adrian Martinez had a big game. Dedrick Mills had a big game.
Wan'Dale Robinson scored his first touchdown of the year.
Nebraska had over 600 yards of offense. They ran for 365. There was a offensive lineman that was not available for that game. His name was Brendan Hymas. So in started at left tackle that game, Turner Corcoran.
Yep.
That was Turner Corcoran's best game of his career. December 18th, 2020. A long time ago. If you want to think what could have been or what might be, find that game on YouTube. Turner Corcoran was fantastic that night at left tackle. His feet looked different. His hands looked different. His pass blocking looked different. I don't know what happened between that night and where we are now or where we were at the last season. But just curious, because when we started talking about Rutgers, I thought that was Turner Corcoran's best game.
Yeah, remember after the game, a lot of the praise to Turner Corcoran because with that start, he was the first true freshman ever started left tackle for Nebraska, and he did. He was part of the solution in that game. It was a rocky first half. All of that stuff that happened with Adrian in the first half. And
by the way, you put up 620 and you only win by a touchdown.
Yeah, there was a kickoff.
Nebraska was Nebraska.
Yeah, special teams too, kickoff return, all that stuff. But yes, it was amazing that the conversation and the positivity and the optimism about, wow, this kid is going to be a stud after you see that game. And then the conversation we have
about top 10 recruit all time at Nebraska. And he finally got on the field as a starter and played an extended amount. I remember Aaron Sem, who I love, who I think is a great football mind that used to be a guest on the show and then life got in the way in his job. Him and I were going back that night and he's like, this is the real deal. This kid looks like what Nebraska's tackles looked like in the past. I keep thinking about that because that was 4 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And hasn't been back to that level. I don't know what happened. All right. 9:27. Brandon Vogel going to join us here in a little bit. We'll talk about some things that are going on. And again, the Big Ten Network, which is, for the most part, I think has been measured even at some of the big boys in the league. What will their thoughts possibly be when they see Nebraska today? And also, when they do their individual interviews, will the freshman quarterback have a sit down with the BTN crew? And who will be here from the BTN? They've been mixed. Like DiNardo hasn't been on every stop. Yeah. I know Yogi Roth is here. And I would think Revson is here.
Revson.
And Howard, maybe. But DiNardo hasn't been on every stop, so we're going to miss the Jerry cliches about Nebraska football. We'll be worse for it. But we will survive because it's all about the friends we met along the way. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. Did you guys look at the Nebraska women's basketball non-con schedule?
Is it a banger?
What do you consider a banger?
So no.
Better than the men's basketball schedule.
They are competing for. We are not doing our season ticket holders.
Let's have some really good home games. Let's break in the.
So they're going for 11-0 in the non-con.
Prince era.
They're going to sell you that adding UCLA and USC to Sweet 16 teams is, it's. I was curious. They did not put it on their social media channels.
No.
Usually a sign.
Yeah,
Southeastern Louisiana does nothing for you?
They
I know them.
They have Creighton, which Creighton is a
Really
bona fide Sweet 16 team. Might even be an Elite 8 team this upcoming year.
Yep.
I'm telling you, the two Creighton teams that share Sokol Arena are going to be really, really good. And then they go to the Pentagon up in Sioux Falls to play South Dakota. Other than that, they play Omaha.
Lindenwood.
Yeah, it's
this.
The men's. You already heard my opinion as a season ticket holder guy. The men's schedule is women's schedule. Like, hey, hold our beer.
Yeah, usually you would get at least a familiar Big 8, Big 12 opponent like a K-State would come in from time to time, or a Kansas. Didn't Nebraska do a home and home with Iowa State not that long ago too? Yeah.
All right, it's out there. You can see it.
Chattanooga.
Who?
Chattanooga.
The Mocs.
They're coming.
Are they still called the Mocs?
Yep. Are they the Lady Mocs?
Ross writes into the Equitable Bank inbox about Rutgers. I'm just always blown away when I look at them and see that they'll probably start 11 seniors on defense. They have difference makers at every level with Lewis, Torrey, and Longerbeam. Jake Butt said the hardest hitting game he saw last year was Rutgers and Ohio State.
Yeah.
You play for Greg Schiano. I mean, yeah, that's.
I mentioned last commercial break, Big Ten Network was very high on them. Jake Butt especially was very high on Rutgers, which is not nothing because, I mean, the guy is the most recently removed from the college game and understands Big Ten success. Ross is right about the defense because, yeah, if you look at their defensive front, senior, transfer, senior. You got to get to, everyone's a senior. In fact, if I'm looking at their two deep right now, as far as what's projected, now this was back at the end of spring, so some things could obviously have changed. Even their two deep, you've got 4 underclassmen on their defensive, and that's their two deep.
And they weren't bad defensively last year. They gave up about 21 points a game.
And only one new addition to the defense, who again is a senior from Florida State, Malcolm Ray.
Now the quarterback is everything. I think it's been a while since a Rutgers quarterback has thrown more than 6 touchdown passes in a season.
What did Noah have in the COVID year?
I don't think he had 6.
I don't think he did either. He might have ran for a few more than that, but your comparison to Iowa is, I think, a pretty decent one. I still think maybe, you know what, and you brought this up, maybe this is why I would put Rutgers in a little bit of different category on the importance of the quarterback position compared to Iowa. We've seen Iowa with that third phase of the special teams be able to have horrific quarterback play and still win 8, 9, 10 games. If they have horrific quarterback play, if Callie McManus even regresses from what we've seen, I still think that is a problem for Rutgers. I think if you're looking at a ceiling for them to hit potentially 9 wins, I think you're looking more at 6 or 7 if Callie McManus is not at least serviceable.
Now, I think it'd be disappointing in New Jersey if they didn't win 8 football games this year.
And you know what? Good for Greg Schiano.
Maybe another bowl. Probably wouldn't go to the Pinstripe Bowl.
Be a good bowl.
Yep. Yeah, and
could be the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
It does. You asked a really interesting question to Bobby about the embracing of this team because I remember watching, God, and this seems like it kind of was forever ago.
Nebraska fans are bored when they go to New Jersey for a game. They like it because they can go to the city. They can spend the weekend because you're playing on Friday night. You get a little Saturday
the trip
in the
is
city.
Great.
The atmosphere. Great. I hear more people say the atmosphere is boring. There's just nothing. There's nothing to the stadium. It's like blah. The game is blah.
You can leave your lights on.
Nebraska and Rutgers have played some like turn your head and cough games recently out there. But like people are like, I'm excited to go there. You know, I've been to New Jersey. I've been to Rutgers. Visual. And they go and they like the stadium gives me nothing. The atmosphere is nothing.
Yeah.
They deserve better because Rutgers football should be better. And Rutgers basketball is going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten. I hope their fans back it up. And I know they don't have a gigantic fan base, but
but what you asked about back in the days when, if you look at that Ray Rice team and when Greg Schiano and Rutgers football really kind of jumped off the page, I think it was a Thursday night game, I want to say, against Virginia Tech. And that place was hopping. Now, again, weeknight game, you got, yes, and you got the stage to yourself. But there was a buzz about Rutgers. I mean, people in the state of Nebraska, like myself, you're tuning in to watch Rutgers take on Virginia Tech. And Rutgers has a running back named Ray Rice who looked really, really good in that game, too.
And Virginia
looked
Tech
good
had
that year.
dudes back then.
Yes, they did. And that place was completely banged out. It looked like a really cool, I don't pay enough attention to this program, but it looked like they really embraced it. It's an interesting question that if they start fulfilling, especially if they were to win in Blacksburg, if they were to go into that game at 4-0 against Nebraska, what they would ultimately, even if they come away with a win or a loss, if they start out 4-0, 5-0, 4-1, how that fan base responds to it. Because if there is a buzz that's is essentially the narrative right now, preseason hype, if they start living up to it or validating that early in the season, I would be curious to see what that atmosphere, what the following of that program looks like.
They did get lucky with the schedule, though. That's amazing. They avoid the top 5 teams in the Big Ten. Brandon Vogel cannot avoid us. We tracked him down. He's in his study.
Whether he wants to or not.
From counterread.com. We'll talk some Nebraska football and maybe what he thinks that the Big Ten Network will say about Nebraska today when they are in Lincoln. That's coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, rolling through the show, we welcome in our good friend from counterread.com, Brandon Vogel. Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Good. You are looking great as well. Let's play the role. Let's do some role play here. You can choose whatever Big Ten personality you would like. What do you think? And you've watched them in their tour, and I told this to Nick earlier. They've been very measured, even when they were at some of the better programs. They've been very measured this year on what they're saying about teams. What do you think they will say about Nebraska when they show up to watch a full practice, which Nebraska will be having today?
Yeah, I would expect it has been measured to this point. I think it'll get a little bit of an interesting test today. I would expect to get plenty of Dylan Raiola impressions from the group. And I think that'll kind of go hand in hand with, if I were crafting the narrative, what I think it would be, it's probably going to be about the additions on offense. Like, I feel like defense, you feel pretty. It was the backbone of Nebraska's team a year ago. It's intended to be the backbone of the program under Rule, and it returns a bunch of guys. So that would actually be some of the more telling stuff. Is if we hear some names of some newcomers, maybe some guys who are number two on the two deep defensively. That would catch my ears. But I think it's going to be pretty heavily focused on quarterback and probably the guys catching passes.
And Brandon, it seemed like a lot of the defensive side of the football was discussed. And mind you had 2 out of 3 of the representatives for Nebraska and Big Ten Media Days were defensive players, but it seemed like that was a big talk of it. Then it went to Dylan Raiola. I am curious if they will get into the offensive line, both the injury with Prohaska, but also the veteran group and how that is portrayed based on what they see, and especially the guys that they might have a chance to see rotated in and out at left tackle.
Yeah, that's a good call. Nebraska, it still has enviable experience, even with the loss of Prohaska, but it gets you get pretty young pretty quick there. So if that would be another thing that would kind of make me raise my eyebrows, is if we hear mention of a couple of young names, guys that we're well familiar with, in this market. But that's kind of the big value of this, is getting somebody who doesn't see every morsel of what there is from fall camp. You kind of get a fresh set of eyes on it.
Hey, what was your impression? Because he's going to be remembered as the guy that we all showed up in Lincoln to watch a football game, and 90 was playing, and we're like, who is this guy? And you're scrambling in your media guide or your program or your notes to go, James Williams? And then he performs, and you're like, huh? Well, they shut him down. They put him in the lab, and he is going to play this year and is going to have a role. And yesterday he spoke. He's got a bright future if he'd like to get into our business of sports talk.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from some of the stuff that James Williams said? And then also that kind of a prospect that comes from Iowa Central Community College, comes to Nebraska, and now is going to play, what that says about Nebraska and their connection with Williams and his future.
Yeah, I think the big ticket item for me is it backs up kind of one of the ways this coaching staff pitches itself, is like, we'll find you if we think you can play, and you'll get the opportunity. And there's no better example of that than the way that you put it, Gary. That his first appearance being like, wait, who again? The guy that showed up to the post grad camp and joined the team during the summer, and sure enough, it was. And I agree with you. Very impressive player. I think physically, we saw a little bit of what he could do last year. Things like this give you a little bit of sense of maybe what makes them go mentally. And I came away pretty encouraged with what we heard yesterday. And he's one of those guys where you look at the defensive line and you can be like, yeah, it's the strength of the team. And that's without even factoring him in. And I think he's going to be a factor this season. So it's a little bit of you feel like you found $20 bill on the street, because you already felt pretty good about the D line.
I try not to just take from what we hear from guys and make that the end all be all, but I want to get back to some of the coaches. And speaking of James Williams speaking yesterday, Rob Dvorak spoke yesterday. I continue to be just impressed with not only what he's shown in a short time of that position and being able to develop, but also just a clear understanding, having that alignment with Tony White. If I were to tell you now with the addition of John Butler that Nebraska has within the next 6 or 7 years has potentially 4 defensive coordinators on that side of the football, would you believe that?
Yeah, I would. Butler, obviously, based on his reasoning for leading the NFL, is in pursuit of that sort of a position based on what we saw with Tony White last year. I think we kind of come in assuming there's going to be interest in him again, assuming Nebraska has a good season. Dvorak, I think Cooper probably held this title for me prior to this, but now I think in terms of like rising stars on this coaching staff, it's Dvorak for me. He reminds me a bit of Trent Bray when he was at Nebraska, just a linebackers coach, but pretty good recruiter, good technician. And now, in an unfortunate setting to some degree, he's the head coach at his alma mater. And he's had a pretty rapid rise from his time at Nebraska. I feel the same about Dvorak, and it wouldn't be a surprise to me at all if Nebraska has a defensive coordinator opening in the near future, if he isn't at or near the top of the list.
So let's talk about the current defensive coordinator because I think we like him.
Yes.
This time of the year, and this is the dog day week of camp. Guys are tired. The light at the end of the tunnel is kind of flickering. They got to grind through this week. And you hear players and coaches, and they look like the dog days of camp and the dog week. But something was interesting to me yesterday, Brandon, that Tony White spoke of. I think coaches at this point in camp, if you ask specific things about their team, if they deflect it and they take the question somewhere else and they make it personal or it's a tit for tat in Boulder, they don't want to talk about their team and they're hiding something. Mm-hmm. What did it say to you yesterday when a defensive coordinator who has talked since the end of last year, we want to be the best defense in the country, is hammering home the point that we haven't tackled very good and gave you the impression that his defense hasn't been up to the standard that he expects through 2.5 weeks of camp?
Yeah, I think it's it's become kind of the theme of this week, right? With the release of the Chasing 3, the first one from fall camp, and the kind of the high profile rule moment, which wasn't specifically about tackling, but everybody mentioned was on the defense, and talking about playing with leverage. So I think that's kind of and you point out a good thing. Like, this is kind of the point in camp when you start to see these things. Like, everything's, guys are night and day different. Guys are doing great, and then you get to week 3 and it's like, okay, now let's pull the reins back a little bit. We're going to try and message, I think, through the media some things that we want to get home. So I think that's probably what was going on. And, it also stood out to me. Coach White started talking yesterday about how much situational football work they've done. And it was interesting on Saturday, I thought, with the rule going 8 plays offense, that's how we're running this scrimmage. I think that's I think it's an encouraging sign broadly, to kind of take the score out of it. But I think I took away from that, it gives me a sense of maybe where they think they need a little bit more improvement still.
When I heard that, I liked hearing it. Because to me, it goes back to a lot of what Matt Rule has said. Brandon, I don't know if you'd agree or disagree with this, but when you have a coach that constantly reminds a team of it, there's a lot of positive things being said about this football program internally and externally. But I think he's quick to remind people that they're a 5-7 team until proven otherwise. And I think Tony White has taken that on even further of a lot of the things that they did a year ago that were very good. In fact, I would say, with the exception of maybe 2 games, they tackled as good as we've seen any Nebraska defense tackle in a very, very long time. That there's no going back. There's no, well, we were so good at that. If we can be just as good, we're fine with that they continue to challenge them. I just feel like that tone is constantly hammered to this team, whether it's offense, defense, and everyone that's involved on even special teams, that it is, again, strategic. It's preached, but it's also getting the guys, the players themselves, to believe that, because I think there were years previous, Brandon, where Nebraska would come off of a 4-win season or would come off of a 3-win season, and then there would be hype about that following season, and it would not be acknowledged in the offseason. It would just be like, okay, we're on to this next season, without really acknowledging, hey, we're still this team until proven otherwise. I like this approach. I don't know how effective it will be, but I feel like it's a lot different when they talk about it compared to previous years.
Yeah, it's I would agree with you, and it's an interesting setup for Nebraska when you kind of look at it in two halves in terms of offense and defense. Like last year, everybody was on just a free roll. New coaching staff, like, we're going to come in and, if you stayed, you bought into what the coaches were teaching you. Defense went straight to the top 10. Offense was in the bottom 10. So now the offense is kind of on a free roll. It's added some important pieces. It's just a different challenge for even an experienced defense to come back with, okay, you were top 10 a year ago. We're talking about being the best defense in the country. Nebraska hasn't handled that well as a program in the recent past. So we'll see if kind of the constant reminders, hey, we're still 5-7. We haven't played a game yet this year. Help with that. But I think that's a big internal challenge. And it would have been for any coaching staff.
All right, we can chatter on this because I'm gonna take what Aaron just wrote on counterread.com, and it's the Rule quote. It's not the first time he's used it, of "This is why we lose," but it ended up on a Chasing 3 episode. So in 2024, from Stu Mangi's drive chart at the end of games to all of these one possession, one score losses, everybody around here can recite them ad nauseum. And Rule says, "This is why we lose." Chasing 3 details. If they win in 2024, will we be able to say, Brandon, they just won because they had better players? Are we allowed to say that, or does it always have to be they fixed the turnovers, they got the small details? At one point, does it come, yeah, we still had some of those, misgivings, but man, we got better players.
Yeah, I don't think we will be able to at the end of 2024. I think it would take a couple of seasons because, if you use the recruiting rankings as a baseline, Nebraska's had better players than most of the West Division for as long as the West Division has existed, and it hasn't happened. So, but that's an interesting setup for that, because it'd be nice to get credit for actually doing the job and not having the lapses that Rule was talking about in that episode.
Great stuff. I always appreciate the conversation Nick and I do, and Jimmy. Great stuff on counterread.com. I'm looking forward to it. The countdown is on. We're 17 days away, and I encourage everyone to not just read it, but also subscribe to counterread.com. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That's Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. He's got the talking points for the week. Aaron's got a really good story today. Highly recommend it. This is why we lose. Or is it why we lose, or now do you figure out how do you win? I think it's okay to say, you know what? Our talent has been upgraded at the most important position on the field.
I knew what you were saying.
Don't run away from it.
Yeah.
They got to fix the turnovers. That's of course.
Yeah.
They got to find the clutch genie. They got to have people that are cut stoppers. They got to be better in special teams. But at some point, you have to go, guys, we got better players.
Yep.
How soon will that happen?
We're not just well coached.
No. All right. Good show, everybody. That was a lot of fun. We'll drink again tomorrow with you.
I encourage it.
I'll bring it in.
I'll tell you, I got a little buzz. I'm not afraid to admit that.
Yeah, I did.
Little buzz. I haven't eaten anything.
A little light on my feet.
Whiskey guy, like cleared out the chest cavity.
Yeah.
I'm like,
He's going to go home and turn the AC on.
No, you ain't.
Not a chance.
No, you ain't.
Not a chance. Big Ten Network in Lincoln. We'll see what they say, and we'll respond to that coming up when we join you in 20 hours. John Schreiner.